Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is this. Now, you may ask, what this is a glass? This is something important? This is some like little whiskey cup? We've seen this thing 1,000 times, but in this is what matters. And what's in this is military special that I poured last night that has been aging. This is aged military special. And I'm a little bit scared of it. Oh my God. So, I'm gonna save this for just a minute. Because there is something that has driven me to drink this. There's something that has driven me to cause myself this kind of pain. And I want to share that with you. I want to share pain and suffering with you. So, we're gonna tackle that thing in just a few minutes. Today we've got a little bit of a variety show coming out. We're gonna close off one case. And that is the case of Jonathan Ledoux, a Twitch streamer who allegedly wanted to how do I say this without getting demonetized? He wanted to rape children. So there's that. Very polite of him to desire that. And not only did he just want to do this, he planned it. He bought a plane ticket. He got on a plane and he flew somewhere to do it. Like, that was the only saving grace in this entire story, is that the children were a complete fabrication by a Homeland Security agent looking for sex traffickers and sex offenders. So thank God that the children in question didn't actually exist, and therefore were safe from this horrific monster. But we are going to talk about pretty much the end of his story. I may do a very brief update down the road, and that'll make sense once we go through his document tonight. But for the most part, this will be the end of the Jonathan Ledoux arc, and we can put that sad misery to rest. Thank God. Gross. Then we will move into, I have 3 other subjects to kind of cover and talk through. One of them is serious. Excuse me. One of them is serious, and that is the case of Abdin. He is the creator of the Tardigrades. Tardigrades. I don't know how to say it. Every time I say it, someone tells me you're saying it wrong. So that lawsuit, we're gonna talk. I figure we read through the judge's opinion on that, and I'll show you guys the GoFundMe. He has filed a notice of appeal, so he does intend to appeal this decision, which is, I think that's good. It's going to be a tough appeal, but we'll read through the judge's decision and kind of take a look at it and see if there's some reasoning we can kind of peel back and examine. The next 2 things I've got to talk about. We've got Cuba Gooding Jr. getting a little handsy. He's getting a little grabby. Apparently, is Cuba getting grabby, or is this Cuba's Me Too moment? Cuba has the fortune of being dragged through the criminal system in New York. He's been charged with crimes. His crimes have been charged, and he is standing. He's pleading innocence, and we're gonna take a look at that, and we'll borrow the video from TMZ to take a look at the video of the alleged horrific sexual assault, and you guys can judge for yourselves whether or not Cuba is guilty of anything. We don't even need to delve into whether it's a crime or not. You can determine if you think that he's a creep or gross or whatever, right? Like those words. But we can also talk about the criminal aspects of it. And then finally, just a little bit of it's a really tragic, funny story. It's a really tragic, funny story. I don't know if you know this, but a U.S. ambassador ran over some guy in the UK and just killed him flat out, driving the wrong way down the road. Just ran him over. And then, due to diplomatic immunity, was released back to the United States and is currently here. So, that's sad enough. And then, Trump apparently invited them to the White House, invited the family of the dead. The guy was like 19. I don't know if I should call him a kid. To me, he's a kid. But I guess to other people, he's an adult. And legally, he's an adult. Except in Britain. In the UK, are you an adult before you're like 62 now? Since everything over there is weird. But, yeah, so we've got Trump arranging a meeting between the family of the dead guy, or trying to, invites them to the White House because they're here trying to get the U.S. diplomat back to the UK to stand trial. And so Trump invites him to the White House and is like, hey, I got her right here. You want to meet her? Which is, that is, oh boy. That is maybe a miscalculation. I don't know if it was Trump's idea. I don't know whose brainchild it was to be like, I know your kid's dead, but do you want to meet the driver? Oh my God. Okay. We'll take a look at that story and kind of laugh through it. As for diplomatic immunity, very, oh my goodness, what a great day. Sorry. Nothing that you guys need to know about. Anyway, sorry, my evening got just a little bit better just now. I got a text a Facebook message from Lady Rackets about something that just freed up part of my day. So, okay. It's nothing that you guys will care about at all. It's literally just in my personal life and means I have one less thing to do tomorrow, that one less thing I have to prepare for tonight. I'll tell you, I guess it's not that big of a secret. I teach at our homeschool co-op, right? And they canceled class tomorrow. So I don't have to teach tomorrow at the homeschool co-op. I like teaching, I do, but I didn't want to do it tomorrow. For various reasons. One, because I've been very tired lately, and that's just one less thing to do. So, all right. Okay, so that's what we're gonna cover today. We got JT Drew. He says, R.I.P. John Dunsworth. Been 2 years since his death, and many of us are still in mourning. Can we have a toast to John, his beloved character Jim Leahy? He was the human embodiment of the liquor itself. Okay, I gotta save the bad liquor. I'll do well, that's bad too. Why do I have all this bad liquor? All right. We've got a little bit of this Alabama bourbon. Here we go. A little bit of Alabama bourbon. This Detling bourbon is very, very good. There we go. There we go. To John Dunsworth. May he R.I. pepperoni. Chase out with his Jamaica Blood Orange fizzy drink. This is non-alcoholic. This is just Bywater. Okay. All right. So, I know you've all been waiting for the big reveal moment when I show you what is driving me to drink this overnight liquor. Overnight liquor is not good. I don't know if you guys know that. I strongly don't recommend it. Oh, but let me announce, there will be a big brain panel on Friday. That's in 2 days. I thought it might be on Saturday, but it turns out we're going to do it Friday instead. So we will have Josh. We will have Mr. Stephen Birch. We will have Keon. We will all probably be intoxicated. We will be talking about lawyerisms and law thingies. And I'm going to try and find some cases or legal topics to just kind of discuss. If you want to come join that, you're welcome to. It will be a good time. Typically, those go a long time. So who knows how long that stream will go? Goodness. Too much carbonation too fast. I don't know how long that stream will go. They tend to go a while. We have a good time. We drink a lot of whiskey. Well, except for the one guy who just drinks the vodka. And we just talk about whatever kind of comes to mind. But we're going to come and I'm going to put together a list of legal topics. If you guys have some suggestions and you want to send them to me, find a way, like life or whatever, and send them to me, and maybe we'll discuss them on the show. No promises. There are no promises in this discussion. Okay. All right. Here we go. This is for you guys. I hope you can read that. So this is a story in 2 parts. This is a story in 2 parts. Oh boy. So the first one here, if you don't understand the first one, I would forgive you for not understanding. But the part 1 of this is T. Greg, now brace yourself, is telling someone else that they tweet so much that it might be an unhealthy addiction. Okay? Don't read the bottom one yet. We'll address that in a second. But the first one is literally T. Greg suggesting that this other person who tweets about 5,000 times, a little short of 5,000 times in 24 days, is a pretty severe addiction. Okay? Pretty severe addiction. All right. There's another thing we have here, and this is called data. I don't know if Greg is aware that there is data on this. First of all, if you go and look at the thread, Greg actually lies and says that do I have it? I think I can pull it up. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Okay. We'll pull this up for you guys too. This this is a smart gentleman. Oh, whoa. Let's see here. Here you go. We're gonna do a quick self-awareness lesson. All right? We're gonna do a quick self-awareness lesson, and then we're gonna look at the data. T. Greg, also, that guy's 4,000 plus tweets in a month is impressive. I thought I tweeted a lot. You do, you dummy, you do. And I average less than 1,500. I average less than 1,500. Okay. All right. Just so we're clear on what he said there. Just this month, which is a slow month for Greg, he has currently, I can zoom in just a little bit, 2,936 in the past 30 days. This is his rolling 30-day amount of tweets is 2,936. All right? Okay. Now, let's go back in time. Right? Tweets per month for Greg Doucette. Remember, his average is less than 1.5 thousand per month. That's his claim. Now, okay, so back here, this is in February of 2018, 3,000. But just the 3,000. Then it goes down for March to one of his lowest months at 2,500. That's one of his lowest months. Then we go to April. Oh, I guess it didn't take the data for April. I don't know what's up with that. But we can just go right to May, where we have 6,000 tweets in 30 days. 6,000. Then we can go down to June, just under 2,500. Just under 2,500. Then July, 2,900. Up. August, 3.3. Skips September, but all the way up to 8,000, 8,200 in October. 8,200, double, almost double what he claimed was a severe addiction. This guy is unaware of just how broken his brain actually is. And maybe it's the hepatitis. I don't know. I don't know what it might be. Maybe he was licking toilet seats or whatever and has a neurological disorder. But this guy, this is his impression of himself. I tweet less than 1,500 times a month. No, you don't. No, and you might need help. You might need help because I thought you realized it and just embraced it, but no, you're in clear denial. Double. It's double. Your average is at a minimum double what you said. That's terrifying. Look, listen. I only do heroin once a week. No, at least twice. More like 4 times. But if we're being fair, but at least twice. At least twice. Okay, so next we've got, again, skipping November, December. He slowed down for Christmas, 5,700 tweets. January, a slow month, 3,400. 4K in February. March, 26, or just under 2,700. April, a low of 2.67 thousand. Up in May to 3,000. 2.52. Good job. Good job. You almost kicked down to like triple a normal users. That's amazing. And then back to 6K in July though. August, not much better. 5,000. So in August, he's out tweeting this guy. And then September, 4,500. And then October, he's down to just over 3,100 so far in this last for the October measurement. But just so we're clear, this is how great the great mind of Doucette is. Average less than 1,500. Average, though. You know. So all those 0 months that you saw, like the 12 0 months it would take to bring his average to half of what it is, you know, all those. It's literal. You'd have to. No joke. He would have to not tweet for something like 8 months to bring his average, his 2-year average, to 1,500 a month. He would have to just stop tweeting for 8 straight months, and then maybe your 24-month average is 1,500 a month. I've told you guys over and over, they don't make you take math in law school. There's a reason lawyers are not even allowed to discuss math. That's a federal statute. Can't do it. You can't do it. Can't discuss you can't discuss math. Oh God, I forgot what I was drinking. Oh no. Oh, the mirth got to me. Okay, so then this person, a kind of computer ghost. I don't know who this guy is. Nick has kids. It's kind of, they have a problem with this, right? This destroys their incel narrative. If someone has children in a family and stable living, because they don't have this. I think T. Greg lives in like a low rent apartment, which he pretty much has to with his bankruptcy. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? People have bad financial circumstances. People make bad financial decisions. People do all sorts of things that can lead to a period in your life where you're living in less than ideal conditions and you're working to get out of it and all that stuff. That happens. Absolutely. But remember that their go-to attack on y'all, on me, on anyone who disagrees with them is, you're an incel, you're living at your parents' house, you have no job, you're in poverty. Here's a kettle, right? Here's the kettle for you. That's their impression of you. That's what they say about me. And unfortunately, that narrative gets destroyed very quickly. Very, very quickly when the facts actually arise and they realize that they're the one in the apartment that would fit like in my vault here, right? And they're the ones who maybe abandoned a child and didn't pay the child support because of the bankruptcy or whatever reason you have to just completely, like an absolute worst person on earth, abandon your child. But no, I have 5 of them, and I spend pretty much every day with them. So cheers to you. Cheers to you. But no one's ever seen them alive. I mean, they haven't actually popped in. I don't get an email every time my daughter's face is visible on this screen here behind me. I don't get like 5 emails of people saying, hey, you know, you might want to filter that out or whatever because people can see her. You know, that never happens. That's apparently, I'm hiring actors to do that. I'm hiring Monica Rial, since she likes putting child actors out of work, to come in and sound like a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old or whatever. But Woof. That was gross. That was kind of hideous. You know what's funny? Aside from the foul taste, it's much smoother on day 2. Like the burn, the acidic burn of it is gone. It now just tastes like a trash can. Oh. Oh. Oh, God. The dead fruit flies out of the bouquet. Oh. So, I didn't even plan on doing a segment on this, but so many people have been saying that T. Greg says that I don't have children, saying to me, you know, privately or in my Discord and stuff like that. They're like, hey, T. Greg says you don't have kids. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. All right. But again, when you guys donate to the GoFundMe, and this is not a shill for the GoFundMe, don't get me wrong. You guys donate to the GoFundMe, it destroys their narrative because you shouldn't be able to afford anything. And if you want to know, if you want a prime example of that, a guy on Kiwi Farms who's also bad at math, might I add, he made a large donation to the GoFundMe, and he talked about it because he left a comment on the GoFundMe that this was half a month's pay, which it turned out it was more like a quarter month's pay, I guess. He must have meant half of a paycheck if he gets paid bi-weekly, I don't know. But he had said half a month's pay. It was a pretty sizable donation. And they all, like all of these people came and concern trolled for the poor, broke, poor man on the internet who can't afford to make the donation that he chose to make and all of that stuff. And how dare I suggest that people donate when they can't do it and it would make them financially destitute. And then he goes on to talk about how, no, actually, I'm responsible with my money. I choose where to put it. This didn't make me poor in any way. It didn't put me in financial distress or anything. They can't fathom this. They can't fathom this. And I have to point out, it's because from the get-go, it's been apparent in all of these nasty, vile people's narrative. They think you're all of you. And they mean it. And they think the same of me. Are unsuccessful, poor, socially handicapped, incels, racists, white nationalists, alt-right. They think all of that about all of you, and they say it over and over and over again. If you disagree with them, you're an incel. I just call you dumb, right? If I think you're dumb. But these people, or fat if you are fat. And if you are fat, I'm just trying to help. Just in case you didn't know. But their narrative is not that you are something. It's that you're a detriment to society. And not only that, but you're a bad element for people to be around. And you're so socially, financially, and personally stunted that you can barely function in the world. And it blows their minds when you're actually just normal people who happen to like anime or me or Dick Masterson or the Kiwi Farms or anything. When it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't even have to be related to this show. You're just a normal person who showed up to check something out. And suddenly these people can't handle it. And they're projecting their own insecurities upon you. That's the funny and sad part of it, isn't it? T. Greg is a broke lawyer who abandoned his child. May have hepatitis. I don't know. So you guys must all be broke. I must not actually have children. These things must not be true. Otherwise, what are they? You know, a lot of guys these days are out there worried. They're out there really worried that they're going to marry a woman and she's going to take all their money, right? Through a divorce. Like they're going to marry. And, oh, by the way, I'm probably going to have a friend of mine who's a financial planner on sometime soon. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk, I think that's the topic we're going to go with. We're going to talk about financial planning strategies for guys who are single, who are financially successful or at least financially independent, and how they go through protecting those assets, how they make wise investment decisions to protect those assets, and just how you can partner up with like an attorney, a financial planner, probably an accountant, and how you can develop a plan for your life that can insulate you from some of those concerns. Because I've seen so many guys come to me and say, look, I really like this girl, or I really am trying to get myself out there, but I'm really worried because I work really hard and I don't want someone to come take what I have. So we're going to talk about different strategies and ideas on how to avoid that, because that's something that he's seeing a little bit more of in his practice as well. So I thought that'd be a cool show. That's going to come at some point. But imagine instead of being a guy worried that you're going to marry some gold digging thought and she's going to take half your money, imagine instead that you're T. Greg's significant other who's worried that if she marries him, she'll be saddled with all of his debt and have to pay the judgment. Oh man, that's a sadder existence than I can imagine. Oh goodness. All right. So we've got a couple more things here. Tucker. How dare you have a successful, loving family? How dare you want to pass on your genetic line? You're supposed to want to worship women for meaningless one-night stands. How dare you? Yeah, never been into that. Never been good at it. Matt Field says, my 20-year railroad career begs to differ. The cognitive dissonance is glaring. Yep, absolutely. And it's everywhere. It's becoming more and more pervasive. And the funniest thing is the people who write these articles and write these opinions, they're always living in some like one-bedroom, cockroach-infested, urine-stained apartment. And it blows my mind. And they're like, no, I love it here. I love this. You stay away from my pissy mattress. I need it. Been in my family for generations. Insert clever name here says, I'd destroy their minds completely as I'm a very successful female IT consultant. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute. Don't power level yourself that hard, please. Who strongly disagrees with them, supports due process and presumption of innocence, and makes more in one paycheck than they do in a year. I bet you do. I bet you do. So, there you go. Shill the merch. Oh yes, I will shill the merch real quick. Last thing before we jump into the case, and I again, thank you for indulging me in these things, guys. I'm just trying to bring you some mirth and humor. Where's my store? My man Tillip has updated the Teespring page. We've cleaned up some of the old merchandise, so it's a little bit more streamlined. It's not as much clutter. Like I said, the benefit of Teespring is that there's basically no cost to create something, and there's no inventory requirement or anything like that. The downside of that is you create a whole bunch of things, and whether they sell or not, they just sit there, and the meme jokes kind of sit there and they're long past their expiration date. So big thanks to Tillip, who cleaned up the store. Now we've got everything kind of condensed into some of the popular and newer items that are out there. So we've got, the Free Hong Kong shirt, the West Nile Best Nile, and this also includes Bestest Nile. We've got West Nile, Bestest Nile on the mugs. We've got hoodies and stuff there too. So, this is the new one. This is DUCK. If you notice, the duck has a compound bow, a Naruto headband. So if you're interested, there is the duck merchandise. Teach your kids. Yeah. This is a Crippin' Duck right here. I'm gonna honk up your whole block. I'm gonna teach your kids how to spell. No, your kids are gonna teach me how to spell. I'm going to show you the meaningfulness of baseline literacy rates with my compound bow. Ever heard of a honk by? Well, I'm gonna teach you about the waddle by. So there you go, guys. There's your, if you want to get in on a duck shirt, they're there. We also lowered the prices of all of the different shirts and mugs just by a couple bucks. So, you know, respecting the wallet a little bit. We do have Single Malt Justice, which has always been a fun shirt, and the Smug Mug, which is still my favoritely named product. Sorry. So, all right. So there's that. You can check that out. The link is in the description to the store. It's the Teespring store. Otherwise, there should be merch cycling below your YouTube video because YouTube told me that they do that. So hopefully they're not lying, but I'm sure they are. Okay. All right. I'm putting this off because this case is so freaking horrid. Don't like thinking about it. But it's here. So, oh wait, we've got Arctic Pride says, "Oh no, I'm outed. Gotta fess up. I live in my mom's basement and commute to a dead-end job 4,000 miles away. Also, she has to support me since I earn a crappy 6-figure salary." No, how can you do it? How can you possibly do it? And then the Dark Knight says, "Hello, Vic. There are 11,000 people on the GoFundMe who knows you are innocent. And I'm sure that this number is not everyone. To you, T. Greg douchebag, Vic has won the PR just by having a GoFundMe to fight back. Long live the free man." So, amen, brother. Amen, brother. And like I said, I really want... That's empty. Why is that there? Okay. Move that. I'm saving that for Mr. Birch. What do we got? Let's do some gin. You know what they say when you're going to read about a horrific pedophile? What do you drink? Gin. Okay. This is Fid Street Gin. You can only get this in Hawaii right now. Gosh, I wish they'd sell it in the States. It's the best gin I've had stateside. My favorite gin is, what's it called? Heyman's Old Tom Gin. I don't have the bottle anymore. Dang it. I finished it down in Florida and threw it away down there. Heyman's Old Tom Gin is that's my favorite gin that I've ever had. But Fid Street from Hawaii is very good. Very fragrant. Lots of spices. Delicious. And if you don't like gin, you probably haven't had a good one. That's all. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, I'm dallying because of this. Okay, so we've got United States of America versus Jonathan Ryan Ledoux. And if you want to go back and explore this case, if you're a masochist or if you missed it, I did a stream where we read through the criminal complaint against him, which involves the chat logs. He is a guy who went onto a website, an incest board, and he solicited to an alleged woman with 2 children that he wanted to engage in the sexual grooming of her underage children. I believe both of them in this case were females, like 14 and 9 were the ages. This is all fictional. On the other end of the conversation was a federal agent who was playing along. There's an interesting question, I guess, about entrapment in these sorts of situations. Law enforcement is not allowed to engage in something called entrapment. Entrapment on a very high level tends to involve an act where the actor, the criminal actor, otherwise wouldn't engage in the criminal activity but for the involvement of the officer. So the important distinctions between an entrapment case and the case of Jonathan Ledoux is that, oh, and I just realized I misspelled his name in the description, so I'll make sure and correct that right now while I'm thinking about it. Jonathan Ledoux. Save. The big distinction here is that typically in an entrapment situation, you would have, like you'd be sitting on Facebook, right? Minding your own business. And then a federal agent would send you a message and be like, hey, hun, want to come incest my children? And you'd be like, now that you mention it, I do. Okay? That is more of an entrapment type situation. Whereas you're minding your own business, you're not doing anything else, and then the federal agent comes up to you, or the government agent comes up to you, and that is how that happens. Okay? In this case, he went to a board and solicited the federal agent. So there's no sort of entrapment here. The idea that in the court's mind and in the eyes of the state are that if there wasn't a federal agent there, he would have just gone to another person for the same thing. So the absence of the federal agent means that there would be another person there to fill that gap. Whether or not that's true is actually a very complicated question. Because personally, I think of any site that promotes pedophilia, child pornography, rape type stuff, murder for hire, any of those types of websites, I automatically think that there's a government agent on the other side of it, right? Like that's a Fed. 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 Oh, I'll murder all the white people on your block. That's a Fed. I don't trust any of that stuff. It never makes sense to me that people engage in this stuff online. That's a Fed. But they do apparently do this because it doesn't make sense to me that people like Jonathan Ledoux do it either. And if I were on the receiving end of one of those messages, like if the Fed were an actual person and the other person was like, hey, do you want to sell your children into sex slavery? Then I would think that's a Fed too. I just think everybody's a Fed, I guess. But yeah. But the state's opinion is that there would be someone that they would find if they didn't find the Fed, so long as the Fed didn't seek them out. And they do the same thing with vice units that pick up Johns, where the female police officer is standing on the corner like a normal prostitute, just trying to work hard, probably getting paid less. And then some guy comes up. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Some guy comes up and propositions the police officer, for example, by saying, girl, you thicker than a bowl of oatmeal or whatever. And then the police officer, they enter into the conversation. The guy asks how much. They take him back to the apartment. So they get all the way through as much of the act as possible prior to having sex with them, oftentimes including the exchange of money. And then at that point, they've got him. Now, just because the cop was standing there, they just assume, another hooker would be there that the guy would find. That's how the state approaches these things. So that's not entrapment either under the state. But again, I think there's a much deeper and bigger question in the scheme of things where we really have to ask, where is entrapment? Where does the opportunity that is created by these agents of the state, where does that overlap into the exploitation of the opportunity by the actor who might not otherwise have acted? And in this case, I'm very, very glad that the state intervened. I'm very, very glad that no children are actually harmed by this monster. I really am. But there is a broad question, especially when it comes to things like prostitution, drug transactions, stuff like that, where the harm is typically minimalized and it's localized to the criminal actor and the person they're engaged with. I'm going to buy drugs from you, that's a weird one, right? So anyway, but this is also how they catch terrorists. Like several years ago, they caught a terrorist by being there, and the terrorist was going to bomb some building in Chicago. And I only know this because my parents were they were in that building when the guy was supposed to have blown it up. And the bomb didn't work, obviously, because he got it from the feds. And so it didn't function. But my parents were there. I think like it was either on the day that they were there that it happened, or it was like the day after they left or something like that. But, they caught him by doing this sting operation. And I'm glad when they catch those people, right? That's a good one. But my kids are in the basement. So am I right now. This is a basement. But yeah, okay. So enough pontificating. Plea agreement. This constitutes the plea agreement between Jonathan Ryan Ledoux, defendant, and the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Michigan. The terms of the agreement are as follows. And if you don't remember, the last place we left off in this case, they were doing a competency assessment, which he passed. He was competent to stand trial, but they were also doing a mental health assessment to see if he was mentally insane. This guilty plea obviates that. They did find him competent. They were going to have a hearing and argue the insanity angle. They must have determined that their argument was failing, and of course it was. He's articulate, he's lucid, he's clearly intending to do the things he says he's going to do. He expresses that he understands the consequences of his actions. He checks off all the boxes for both mental competency and sanity in the discussion that he has with the person. He's just a sicko. That's the difference. There's a difference between being a sicko and being too insane to understand the ramifications of your actions. He's a sicko. But where we left off was waiting for the hearing on the mental health issue. He had failed the competency hearing, and the case was moving forward. Okay, so the defendant agrees to plead guilty to count 1 of the indictment. Count 1 charges the defendant with attempted coercion and enticement of a minor in violation of Title 18 USC 2422B. The defendant understands the crime. In order for defendant to be guilty of violating it, the following must be true. The defendant attempted to use a means of sexual activity. The defendant believed the intended victim was under 18, and had the sexual activity occurred, defendant could have been charged with a criminal offense under state law. Yes, pretty clearly. Defendant is pleading guilty because defendant is guilty of the charge described above. This is an agreement that's worked out. Now, in my jurisdiction, in state court, we have a misdemeanor plea form, and we have a felony plea form. And going through each one has some boilerplate language, and then we add the rest of the language with the specific facts. I understand why I'm guilty of this thing. So this isn't a boilerplate document with like blanks like we would fill out in our state court stuff. So this is probably worked out between the two parties. There may have been some negotiation about it here, but what the prosecutors are going to be looking for is an appeal proof confession of guilt. Like that's what they want. They want to make sure they eliminate the possible angers. He wasn't competent, he was unfit or mentally insane and couldn't stand trial. They want to get rid of that. They want to make sure that they get down on paper that he understands the charges, he understands the penalty, he understands these things. They've got to get all of this on paper. And actually, I don't know if they've done this in here or if they do this at the hearing, but in Minnesota felony court, you have to actually put the defendant on the stand, and they have to articulate to the court sufficiently the factual basis for their crimes. They have to walk through and lay the foundation for a judge to find them guilty. So they have to say, I did this thing, then I did this thing, then I did this thing on these dates, and that constitutes a criminal act. And so if the judge is actually not satisfied with that recitation of facts, then they can't find them guilty. Ethically, the judge cannot find someone guilty if the judge thinks that the person doesn't believe that they're guilty, which is really weird, because you'll hear about it all the time where it's advantageous to plead guilty rather than fight. Even if you believe you're innocent, it may be advantageous to plead guilty. For example, there could be a statutory limitation. In Minnesota, your first fifth-degree felony drug possession charge, especially if it involves marijuana, if you plead guilty to that, and it's your first offense, your first drug offense, that will be sealed, and you will have a 1-year stay of adjudication. So as long as you don't have any drug charges for the next 12 months, that charge goes away. So you can plead guilty to that crime. You can do maybe as little as 0 to less than a week of jail time, depending on the facts of the case. And you can plead guilty to it, do a tiny bit of jail time, pay a small fine, maybe a couple $100s. And sometimes you can pay a slightly larger fine in lieu of jail time. And then what you can do is serve out your 1 year of supervised probation. And at the end of that year, if you have no further drug crimes, it goes away. And it's sealed forever. So employers can't find it. No one can find it. It's just gone. You're not guilty. And the charge is actually dismissed. So you don't have a felony conviction. In that case, depending on the facts of the case, it is often a good idea to plead guilty for that result, right? Even if you're not actually guilty, it's probably better and cheaper to plead guilty. For many, many people, especially people who can't afford a lawyer, who are working with a public defender, if the facts at issue are expensive to contest, like an independent drug test, testing facilities, stuff like that, if the witnesses are hard to locate, all of those things can really ratchet up the price of your criminal defense. And if you're talking about, wait a minute, I can pay 10 grand to prove myself not guilty, and to risk being found guilty, but to maybe prove myself not guilty, or I can plead to this, and then after 1 year, it will have no effect on my life. That's an easy decision for a lot of people. Okay. Sorry, I'm going back and forth on this, but we've got another chat here. Sevic says, I can't live alone or support a family. Having one would be irresponsible. I'm a failure by most societal standards, yet still more responsible and decent than T. Greg. The mote in my eye they see is just the beam in theirs. And look, man, don't ever let anyone else define your success, right? Because they don't know. They don't know the things that people have had to deal with in life. They really don't. Unless maybe it's in a public document. Then they know. Defendant understands the penalty. Statutory maximum sentence that the court can impose for a violation of Title 18 USC 2422 B is the following. Minimum incarceration, 10 years. Oh, God. So, looks like just Ledoux is going to get probably a 10-year boning on the sentence. It'll probably be reduced for time served because my understanding is he's been held the entire time. And it's been, he'll get a couple months knocked off of that. And then oftentimes you can get a reduction for good behavior. But it's looking like he's going to get at least a 10-year sentence. Maximum incarceration is life, depending on what the judge determines him to be as a danger to society. I'm guessing that part of this, I don't think it's not in here currently, but I would guess that part of the agreement would be that they would request that the prosecuting attorney make a recommendation to the court that the state is pushing for the minimum sentence. Sometimes a prosecutor will do that. Sometimes they won't. Really depends on the facts of the case. The problem with John Ledoux here is they've got him dead to rights. The man is done. If he goes before a jury, if they had a tenth of the evidence before a jury, he's probably getting convicted anyway. But with what they have before a jury, outside of a technical issue, the second it gets past a judge and to a jury, he's done. Poof, gone. Probably for as much as the jury can recommend. The juries shockingly hate when someone tries to sexually assault children. Like that's their goal in life. And when they express it so vilely and disgustingly as he did, they definitely want this guy locked away because they have kids, right? And that's all they can think about is if this guy was next door to my house, my kids are in danger. Terrifying prospect for most juries. Minimum supervised release, 5 years. Maximum supervised release, life. Whether or not he'll be supervised, I'm guessing he'll be a registered offender for the rest of his life. Special assessments, $100 plus $5,000. And the additional penalty is the sex offender registration. Yeah, so he'll be registered for life. He'll have to pay $5,100. Defendant agrees to pay the special assessments at or before the time of sentencing unless defendant affirmatively demonstrates to the court that he lacks the ability to pay. That's going to be tough because he bought a plane ticket to go have sex with children. He's got some sort of assets. He's got a computer that he could sell. He's not going to need it for a while. He likely has a car or something else. You know, I don't know what this guy's financial situation or life situation is like. But, you know, he's got a bunch of underwear he can sell too or whatever. I hear you can sell that online. He's a Twitch thought. He can sell his underwear. Supervised release defined. Supervised release is a period of time following imprisonment during which the defendant will be subject to various restrictions and requirements. Defendant understands that if he violates one or more of the conditions of any supervised release imposed, he may be returned to prison for all or part of the term of supervised release, which could result in defendant serving a total term of imprisonment greater than the statutory maximum allowed stated above. So he might just leave his bones in the cell, and his bones can get raped. Asset forfeiture and financial accountability. Defendant agrees to disclose to law enforcement officials the whereabouts of defendant's ownership interest in and all other information known to defendant about all monies, property, or assets of any kind derived from or acquired as a result of or used to facilitate the commission of defendant's illegal activities. Uh-oh. Hope he didn't drive a plane to the airport. That'd be, or drive a plane, drive a car to the airport. That would be your car. His computer's gone. You know, anything like that. The clothes that he had with him. Oh boy. Defendant specifically agrees to forfeit all rights, title, and interest in his Samsung Galaxy phone, IMEI number blah, and Dell laptop computer seized by law enforcement officials on March 22nd, 2019, which defendant admits were used to facilitate the defendant's criminal activity in violation of the statute. Defendant agrees to the entry of an order of forfeiture at or before sentencing with respect to these assets and to the forfeiture of the assets. Factual basis of guilt. Okay, so here we're gonna go through the statement of facts in just a second. I have got to stop yawning. Oh my goodness. Oh, there are a couple justice chats I didn't see. Kay says T. Greg's follower count is higher than his net worth. Oh no. Okay. Felipe Mouve says I'm with Duchette. Does your evil twin, Mr. Rekieta, have kids? Incel. I don't know. Incel alert from a guy in South America that earns more than the average American. Ooh. Shots fired. Gay and still at large says ravioli, don't lewd a real life lowly. What? What is that? Factual basis of guilt. Defendant and the U.S. Attorney's Office agree and stipulate to the following statement of facts, which need not be proven at the time of the plea or sentencing. So this is how they do it here. Okay, great. On November 16, 2018, defendant contacted an undercover agent posing as the mother of a 14-year-old and 9-year-old girl on the internet. Defendant indicated an interest in having sexual intercourse with both the 14-year-old and 9-year-old. Defendant continued to communicate with the undercover agent through the internet in an attempt to persuade the believed mother to let him engage in sex acts with her minor daughters. To be fair, the federal agent was more than willing. On March 22, 2019, defendant flew from Massachusetts to Kent County, Michigan to meet the believed mother and 2 young girls. When defendant arrived at the airport in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he was taken into custody by the Department of Homeland Security Investigations. That must have been... I'm sorry. Can you imagine you get off the plane, like, oh man, I hate flying. I was next to that smelly fat lady or whatever, and she took up half my seat. Her like waist was over my armrest. Oh, good, it's good to get out. And you walk out, and they're like, have a seat, right? Like, click, click, and then you're in the airport, walking around like a moron with your hands. I saw something like this the other day when Lady Rackets and I were going to HawaiiCon. We're walking through the Minnesota airport. There was a guy on the moving walkway, and he had a jacket on like backwards, which was weird enough. But I looked down, and his hands were coming out the bottom of the jacket. They were handcuffed together, and there was like a big grizzly looking guy, and then like a big grizzly looking guy behind him, one in front and one behind, walking him along. And I was like, oh, good. They got con transport right in the airport there. That was great. So anyway, I just can't imagine you get off the plane. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, wait, but I talked to a nice lady online. United States Attorney's Office agrees. Dismissal of other counts and charges. U.S. Attorney's Office agrees to move to dismiss the remaining count of the indictment against the defendant. Defendant agrees, however, that in determining the sentence, the court may consider the dismissed count in determining the applicable sentencing guidelines range, where the sentence should fall within the applicable guidelines range, and the propriety of any departure from the calculated guidelines range. By this agreement, defendant does not concede that an increased sentence or an upward departure is in fact warranted. Oh boy, it doesn't matter. Oh, that sucks. So when the judge makes his sentencing determination, he's got the guidelines for the sentence, but he can also consider things outside of the specific crime. Like he can consider the fact that he was charged with this other remaining crime, which I believe was interstate travel with attempt to engage in sexual activity with a minor. I think that was the other charge. So the judge can actually. So here's the problem for Ledoux in this case. I mean, it might not be a problem, but if the judge particularly hates pedos or whatever, the problem for him is that he traveled across state lines. The judge knows this. They arrested him upon arrival at the airport. So they're charging him with, right? Like, what's the charge here was attempted coercion and enticement of a minor. That's not the crossing state lines charge. I don't believe. I believe there's the separate charge was crossing the state lines. I guess I could look it up real quick. What? No. Let's double check that charging document. I want to make sure I've got this right. Nope, not that one. Ledoux indictment. Attempted coercion and enticement. Count 2. Interstate travel with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct. So, here's the problem for Ledoux. When the judge goes to go through this, make a sentencing determination, he has already a sufficient factual basis for a finding of guilt. Now, he can't find him guilty of that crime, but he knows that he did the thing, right? The judge knows you did the thing. And the judge can consider that in there. Now, he's not conceding that an upward departure is warranted, but oh God, you don't want to have that there because you actually did the thing. Acceptance of responsibility. U.S. Attorney's Office agrees not to oppose defendant's request for a 2-level reduction of his offense level for acceptance of responsibility under 3E1.1a of the sentencing guidelines. However, the U.S. Attorney's Office reserves the right to object to defendant's request if it subsequently learns of conduct by defendant that is inconsistent with the criteria set forth in the commentary to section 3E1.1. Let's see. Should the court grant a 2-level reduction as provided herein, the government states that defendant has assisted authorities in the investigation or prosecution of his own misconduct by timely notifying it of his intention to enter a guilty plea, thereby permitting the government to avoid preparing for trial, and hereby moves the court to grant additional 1-level reduction if the adjusted offense level is 16 or greater. We could go through that, but that sentencing guideline is a mess. And I'm not an expert on it, so maybe we'll cover that when we actually read when the sentencing order comes out. Defendant agrees, registration, acknowledges and agrees defendant must register as a sex offender in all applicable jurisdictions, including but not limited to the jurisdiction where he was convicted, resides, works, and attends school. Defendant understands that failure to register may subject him to prosecution. Freedom of Information Act, defendant hereby waives all rights, whether asserted directly or by a representative, to request or receive from any department or agency of the U.S. any records pertaining to the investigation or prosecution of this case, including without limitation any records that may be sought under the Freedom of Information Act or the Privacy Act. Sentencing guidelines. Defendant understands that although the U.S. sentencing guidelines are not mandatory, the court must consult the guidelines and take them into account when sentencing defendant. Defendant understands that the court, with the aid of the pre-sentence report, will determine the facts and calculations relevant to sentencing. Defendant understands that defendant and defendant's attorney will have the opportunity to review the pre-sentence report and to make objections, suggestions, and recommendations concerning the calculation of the guideline range and the sentence to be imposed. Defendant further understands that the court shall make the final determination of the guideline range that applies in this case and may impose a sentence within, above, or below the guideline. Subject to the statutory minimum penalties described elsewhere in this agreement. So he's gonna get 10 years. That's the statutory minimum. Defendant further understands that disagreement with the guidelines, range, or sentence shall not constitute a basis for withdrawal of the plea. Wait, I thought I was only getting 10 years. You calculated 30. Oh yeah, sorry fam. That doesn't mean you get to withdraw the guilty plea. So. There is no U.S. agreement or no agreement about the final sentencing guideline range. Defendant and U.S. Attorney's Office have no agreement as to the applicable sentencing guidelines factors or the appropriate guideline range. Both parties reserve the right to seek any sentence within the statutory maximum and to agree for or argue for any criminal history category and score, offense level, specific offense characteristics, adjustments, and departures. So the attorney's going to go in. Obviously, his attorney is going to be shooting for that 10 years. Waiver of constitutional rights. By pleading guilty, defendant gives up the right to persist in a plea of not guilty and the right to a speedy and public trial by jury or by the court. As a result of defendant's guilty plea, there will be no trial. At any trial, whether by jury or by the court, defendant would have the following rights. They have to go through and acknowledge that the defendant understands that they're giving up these rights. The right to the assistance of counsel, including if defendant could not afford an attorney, the right to have the court appoint an attorney to represent him. The right to be presumed innocent and to have the burden of proof placed on the government to prove defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, this guy looks guilty as hell, is pleading guilty, all of that stuff. But do you think he felt presumed innocent when he was arrested at the airport before even getting to his hotel? He's arrested at the airport and held in prison until still. I just love that. You're presumed innocent. You just stay in the jail though. Just stay in the jail though. The right to confront and cross-examine witnesses against defendant. The right, if defendant wished, to testify on defendant's own behalf and present evidence in opposition to the charges, including the right to call witnesses and to subpoena those witnesses to testify. The right not to be compelled to testify, and if defendant chose not to testify or present evidence, to have the choice not be used against the defendant. This is one of your most powerful rights in any criminal case. That not only do you not have to say anything, you don't have to present evidence. The prosecution has to present all of it, and they have to say everything. You don't have to say anything. And if you choose not to say anything, they can't use that against you. And if they do, it's a mistrial. So, this is one of your most powerful rights. Don't talk to cops. Don't talk to feds, and consult your attorney before you say a word in court. Okay? Please do that. By pleading guilty, defendant also gives up any and all rights to pursue in this court or an appeal any affirmative defenses she was asking for it. Fourth Amendment or Fifth Amendment claims, that's illegal search and seizure, and due process claims that they're foreclosing right here. The search and seizure claims, those are big ones that you give up. Now, obviously, this is a standard document, and they know they're giving up these rights. So they must have determined that the Fed's search was done. Whatever search was done in accordance with the law and the requirements of the Fourth Amendment. And other pretrial motions that have been filed or could be filed. And of course, you have a huge problem. You have a huge problem when what all of the evidence is based on is things you've told willingly and directly to the government agent in the course of the commission of the crime. Court is not a party to this agreement. Defendant understands that the court is not a party to this agreement, is under no obligation to accept any recommendation by the U.S. Attorney's Office or the parties regarding the sentence to be imposed. Defendant further understands that even if the court ignores such a recommendation or imposes any sentence up to the maximum established by statute, defendant cannot, for that reason, withdraw his guilty plea. He will remain bound to fulfill all his obligations under this agreement. Defendant understands that no one, not the prosecutor, defendant's attorney, or the court, can make a binding prediction or promise regarding the sentence defendant will receive, except that it will be within the statutory maximum. This agreement is limited to the parties. Limited to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Michigan. Hey, Epstein. Epstein should have had that written out of his document. If you don't know the reference there, Jeffrey Epstein had his immunity agreement as part of his cooperation with authorities, down in Florida. And then when they tagged him in New York, he said, "Oh, I have immunity." And they said, "That doesn't apply. That only binds the attorney's office for the district in Florida, not for the one up here in New York." So he needed a general immunity and didn't get one. And cannot bind any other federal, state, or local prosecuting, administrative, or regulatory authority. This agreement applies only to crimes committed by defendant. Does not apply to or preclude any past, present, or future forfeiture or civil actions. Consequences of breach. So this is just a contract, right? Like that, if you notice the language, this is just a contract. If defendant breaches any provisions of this agreement, including any promise of cooperation, whether before or after sentencing, the U.S. shall have the right to terminate this agreement or deny any and all benefits to which the defendant would otherwise be entitled under the terms of this agreement. In the event the U.S. elects to terminate this agreement, the agreement shall be considered null, owner of Kiwi Farms, and void, and the parties shall return to the same position they were in prior to the execution of this agreement as though no agreement ever existed. In such an event, defendant shall remain liable for prosecution on all original charges, and the U.S. shall be free to bring such additional charges as the law and facts warrant. Defendant further agrees to waive and forever give up his right to raise any claim that such a prosecution is time barred if the prosecution is within 1 year of the breach that gives rise to the termination of the agreement. This is a complete agreement. entered into by both sides freely, knowingly, and voluntarily, and it incorporates the complete understanding between the parties. No other promises have been made, nor may any additional agreements, understandings, or conditions be entered into unless in a writing, signed by all parties, or on the record in open court. And there's their signature. So, good job. Good job pleading guilty. I guess you did some of the world a favor and admitted that you need to go away. Okay. So there you have it. One absolutely terrifying person will go to jail for better or worse, for thought crime and speech crime. Although it's important to realize that he manifested the full intent to commit the crime had the victims existed. But there's always that question. It's a balance that we have in our legal system. The question is, when there is no victim, philosophically, do we have a crime? I mean, we legally have a crime. The statute is in existence. I believe it has probably been upheld by the Supreme Court multiple times, despite the challenges, because it doesn't actually involve the sexual contact with the minor, only the, whatchamacallit, coercion and enticement, attempted coercion and enticement. It's an attempt to do it, not the actual completion of it. And we know that attempt crimes are crimes. There's a whole lot of jurisprudence suggesting that attempt crimes are crimes and they can be charged as crimes, and you can be prosecuted and go to prison and have your liberty stripped from you. But it is part of the greater philosophical discussion that we always engage in. What is the risk that we have to the integrity of our citizenry as we prosecute these crimes with no actual victim? In this case, the victims are entirely fictional characters. So what we have to ask as a society, are we okay with putting this guy in prison for 10 years to life for the attempted coercion of people who don't exist? I think many, if not most, if not the overwhelming majority of people would say yes. Yes, yes, yes. Resoundingly yes. Put this weirdo in the prison as fast as possible. As if you won't just kill him, at least put him away. That's what the overwhelming majority of people would say. But there are people out there, and I want to acknowledge as a very valid question, and one that I wrestle with as in my defense work, is there's no victim here. A victim probably would have existed. We don't know that for sure, but we can reasonably infer that eventually a victim would exist. But there is the question of, did the logistical opportunity create victims where there otherwise wouldn't have been a victim? We only know that his disgusting words caught on because a federal agent pretended they caught on. Right? Like, that's all we know. Imagine anyone else on that website and he goes on there and says the same things. They may have all said no. I don't believe it. I don't believe that that's what would happen, but we don't know the outcome. We can only infer, try and make inferences as to what the outcomes would be. I'm glad this guy's going to prison. But the basis on which I'm glad is a long-standing philosophical question that I wrestle with. There isn't an actual victim. Even if he had done everything he intended to do, he would have showed up at a Homeland Security agent's house, and there wouldn't have been children to have sex with. He could never have committed this crime. That's something to kind of wrestle with. And again, maybe it's different for different crimes. Like, what if, again, take away the children, for example. What if he was trying to buy 10,000 vials of marijuana oil that you could vape, marijuana vape oil? Okay, so he's like, cool, I can get 10,000 vials of marijuana oil. I can rent myself an Escalade and when I get to Michigan, and I can drive that Escalade from Michigan back to Massachusetts with all the vape oil in the car. And then that's cool. So I'll just fly to Michigan after talking to this person online. I'll land, I'll get out, I'll buy the vape oil, and then I'll transport it back to Massachusetts. Let's say that's the intended crime. Okay? He gets off the plane and is arrested. Even if he got off the plane and was able, and there were no feds, it was all real. The worst thing that would happen is this guy would buy marijuana oil. But let's say they weren't. Obviously, they're not real. It's a fed. It's a sting operation. So he flies from Massachusetts to Michigan. Do we want this guy going to prison for, and it would be a similar sentence, by the way, mandatory minimums. You've got 10,000 vials of hash oil. You will go to prison for a long time. That is a long sentence. Maybe longer than this one. We have to ask, who's the victim? Was there a crime? We take the kids, the imaginary kids, out of this equation and put something else in there. These are the philosophical questions we have to ask. And then, do we act on that philosophical difference? Because it's a big difference, right? Like, I'm much more comfortable putting him away for this than I would be for that. I don't care if he wants to fly to Michigan to buy weed. So that's the philosophical difference, and we have to determine if we want that difference to apply differently to different types of crimes. And if so, why and on what basis, and how do we justify that in court, and how do we justify that in the legislature? Anyway, these are just rambling thought questions, right? Nothing specific about the actual content here. Okay. What is this? Oh, yeah. All right, sorry. Distracted. All right. Let's go. Should we do Anis Abdin or should we look at Cuba Gooding Jr. first? Let's look at Cuba first, because that's a pretty quick one. Venomine says, the answer to your question can easily be answered by answering this one first. Is it the government's job to prevent crimes as well as punish those who commit them? Obviously, yes. I see no real quandary here. I don't know that it's that obvious. I don't know that it's actually that obvious, because our police force has not always been a peacekeeping force. Our police force has for a long time been a mop-up crew, right? The crime gets committed, and then the police force would come in, charge the people with the crimes that needed to be charged, make the arrests and stuff like that. The idea that they're a preventative force isn't the oldest thing in the world. So, very weird. Let's get Cuba Gooding Jr. Here we go. I've got the article from TMZ. Take a gander at some of this stuff here. I'm not going to go through all this. We're going to summarize some of it because, that whole copyright thing, we gotta sufficiently change the article, or the use of the article. So we're mainly going to use we're going to use this video down here. This is the video of the incident. But let's take a look at these pictures real quick. We've got Cuba, all smiles, very smiley. It's not the most convincing smile. He's trying to smile through all of this. They're focusing on his smiles. He's got another half. I don't like being accused of being a sexual criminal, but here you go. Got that one. This guy is trying to commit a sex crime with his mouth, and this chick is unimpressed. She's not listen. Like, that mouth is not satisfying anybody, trust me. Okay. All right, real quick summary of Cuba Gooding Jr. here. Cuba has been accused of attempting to grab, or no, not of attempting, of grabbing a woman's breast in public. She has suggested that he grabbed her breast in public at a bar, and he has said that he denies grabbing her breast. He said he grabbed her hand, and we'll watch the video in just a minute. She allegedly went to him for a settlement prior to pressing the criminal charges. That's always a good sign, right? Listen, I won't press the criminal charges against you, Mr. Famous Millionaire movie maker, if you just give me a bunch of money. Like, listen, I can be not criminally victimized if you just give me like $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it was. Who knows? I don't know how much it was. But listen, that's how I cannot be a criminal victim, is if you just give me a huge wad of cash. But Cuba refused that. He got arrested. I mean, he's been, if you notice in this top picture here, he's in cuffs. That guy's got his hands, he's in cuffs. The stern-looking officer that looks like 4 or 5 people I went to high school with, he's being escorted in by police. Here he's out of cuffs, which is nice. So he was arrested, he was arraigned. So this is prior to the arraignment. He went in, was arraigned, was released, either on bail or conditions. I don't really care. I just want to show you guys the video. That's what we're going to do. But that is allegedly a smile from all of these. And by the way, guarantee you, his attorney said, smile. Smile like this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Don't be boisterous and making jokes. Just smile. You know, this is all procedural. We're going to get through this. Everything's going to be fine. You need to maintain the idea that this woman is out for your money, that this is preposterous, and you are going to maintain that, and you are going to smile through all of it. Okay? So that's where we're at here. So let's take a look at the video. This does not have I don't know, can I make this a little bit bigger? There we go. This does not have audio, I don't believe, when I watched it earlier. Let's take a look. Where's the witnesses? Oh, don't worry. There's lots of them. You'll see them all. Here we go. Oh, there is audio. Nope. It's silent. Okay, so this is Cuba right there and Claudine, whoever Claudine is. Here's the accuser approaching him. And watch this hand. Do this. Gonna go. Leans over. Oh, did he put his hand on her leg there? Ooh. Ooh, ooh. There it is. There it is. Did you see him? Did you see that? Groping the... Don't pay attention to the fact that he grabbed her hand. Let's take a look at that again. His hand is down on her leg. It moves up. It's kind of blurry. Kind of blurry. Then he's got her hand, kisses her hand. Now, see how she's victimized here? Do you see the victim status? This guy comes up. He's like, oh my God, it's Cuba Gooding Jr. or whatever. Hey, buddy. It's nice to meet you. I want to give you a hug. Thanks for making radio. And now I'm going to dance. What's happening? Bars are weird. What is he? He keeps doing... Did Cuba just grab that guy's dick? What was that? What happened? She's still there, by the way. She's still sitting there. This chick just grabbed Cuba's crotch a little bit. That might be Claudine, though. That's okay. This guy's hugging everybody. That's a serial assault hug. I've heard about those from the anime community. Guy just leaned in to kiss Cuba, I'm pretty sure. Some hugs happening. All sorts of hugging going on. And then this chick stands up. Okay. All right. Cuba, I'm out of here. Grab my tits and I'm gone. And then there's the accuser walking slowly right there. So there you go. And ladies and gentlemen, you've just seen how gross sexual assault plays out in real time. In real time. That's it. If you didn't see it, the only difference we have between this and any other case is that she's accusing him now rather than a decade from now. And she's doing it in criminal court rather than in the civil court, right? Like, this is obviously ridiculous. This is obviously ridiculous. He didn't do anything illegal there. He clearly is grabbing for her hand. He pulls the hand across his date, kisses her on the hand. It's a nice gesture. This is not the most beautiful woman. Let's see if there's anything else here. I'm going to see if there's, the alleged groping. Confrontation. Ooh, let's watch the confrontation. As the man gyrates, drawing attention to his crotch, it appears Gooding and his girlfriend playfully paw at his crotch. Guy also takes a drink away from Gooding. A few more people join the group and everyone's casually chatting for a few more minutes. They all walk away separately but in the same direction. About 3 minutes after the initial touching, there's no argument. 30 minutes later, Cuba and Claudine were downstairs lounging on a couch and making out. A man who we're told works security for the bar was standing next to the couch when the accuser approached him and started arguing. Blurred her face to protect her identity. Okay, so this is 30 minutes later. This would be exciting. I haven't watched this one. This is you and me. There's going to be a stupid ad, I bet, when I click on this. So I'm sorry if there is. Oh, no. Here we go. Okay, Cuba and Claudine getting hot and heavy. Good job, Cuba. Now Claudine's just laying there. He's smiling. She comes back. Listen. Homeboy grabbed my titties or something. Like, what is... What is happening here? Cuba goes over. Trips over Claudine. That's a good look. Hey. I'm going to walk away. He's out of here. So, there's that. Let's see. Blurred her face to protect her identity, but she appears to say yes, he did. She repeated that after the security guard shook his head. Nah. He's only grabbing one pair tonight, and it's Claudine, right? It's unclear if Cuba heard their conversation, but he got up, stumbled, and walked right past the accuser and left. Claudine, the security guard, followed right behind him. He reported Cuba was arrested Thursday and booked for misdemeanor forcible touching and sexual abuse in the 3rd degree. His attorney, Mark Heller, told us Wednesday he saw no criminality on Cuba's part in the video, something he repeated after the arrest. Called Heller about this post, but he declined to comment. I'm going to call Heller. I don't think he's going to do... there's no way he's going to talk to me, but I'll call him. Say, hey, man, you want to put out a statement? Because this looks bogus to me. This absolutely does look bogus to me. I think it's ridiculous. Here's why I brought this up, though. Here's why I brought this up. There's a massive difference between criminal court and the civil court, right? And in a way, Cuba is fortunate that he is being brought before a criminal court for this. Because he's gonna win that. He's gonna win that. That video does not prove beyond any reasonable doubt that he touched her breast, that he did anything other than grab her hand, pull it across his date, and kiss it. What they're going to, or what she's going to have, or the state is going to have to prove that he inappropriately and without her consent touched her breast. She made no reaction. She made no reaction at the time. That's clear in the video. TMZ says it's unclear whether or not he pulled her hand towards her or she pushed his hand away. He pulls her hand across and kisses her hand. They're going to have a real problem proving beyond any reasonable doubt, especially if Claudia's there, right? And the security guard is there, and drunk gyrating crotch guy is there. Any of them they're going to have to prove that he intended to touch her breast in a sexual manner and that she did not offer any sort of consent for it. That's a tough claim based on the evidence that we have. Very tough. So, in a way, it's fortunate that he's going to the criminal courts. The civil court, that'd be a much, much more of a toss-up because you have a 50-50 chance. They have to prove Cuba did it. Not only that he did it, but he meant to. He meant to violate her personal, intimate area, right? Like, that's what they have to prove. Not that he grabbed for her hand and accidentally brushed her breast or something like that. Over a dress. Let's be very clear that he touched her breast over a dress while reaching for her hand and then kissed it. And she sat there. Those things are going to be facts that the the defense attorney will point to over and over again if this goes to trial and doesn't get dismissed outright. If it goes to trial, it's going to be, he didn't do anything. Have you ever, even if he did touch her, have you ever accidentally touched someone somewhere and meant absolutely nothing by it? This is an intent crime. The crime requires you to find beyond any reasonable doubt that he intended to violate her personal space, her intimate personal space, by grabbing her breast. That's what he had to do to fulfill the element of the crime. Not only did he have to do it, he had to intend that result without her consent. So we're supposed to believe that after that happens, they sit there for quite a while. She remains. She's not getting in his face. She's not loudly complaining. She's not standing up or recoiling. And we're supposed to believe that now it's somehow a crime. But it's fortunate for Cuba because if he wins this criminal case, he's going to clear his Me Too moment. And I say his Me Too moment because guys out there who are public, yours is coming. It's a function of will you live long enough to have it? That's it. It's a math equation. At this point, a public male who goes out in public, it is a function of time versus life expectancy as to whether or not you will get Me Too'd until something changes. This is what bothers me about all these people. About the white knights, about the believe women folk. Listen, you've given so much power, not you, as society, we've given so much power to the accusation that women are bound to abuse it. And if we gave the same power to men, they would abuse it too. It's just how it goes. The opportunity for abuse is then a factor of time versus life expectancy. Just how it is. And some percentage of men are going to go through this. And if we as a society don't change how we approach these things and demand the evidence, demand the proof, then we're condemning our sons, our daughters. No, our sons. Our sons, our brothers, our husbands, our fathers, whatever. We're condemning them to social pariah status, if not criminal charges. So, the Dark Knight says, don't talk to a women. Don't help them on the side of the road. Don't mentor them at work. That's not being an incel. That's being a logical person who values his career and his well-being. It's not worth losing your life for a woman. And that's where a lot of people are going. That's where a lot of guys are going these days. It's not worth the risk to them. It's a damn shame. because there are all sorts of good rewards for interacting with the opposite gender. Like there are all sorts of great things that can come from that. But do they outweigh the risk? And that's a tough question. Tough question. Okay, so we've got Anas Osama Ibrahim Abdin versus CBS Broadcasting. Broadcapping is Mad Black. He's broadcapping everywhere. Also that, what's his name? Oh, dang it. I'm killing the joke. What was the like actual incel shooter up in Canada that Monkey Jones always talked about? That guy's broadcapping, right? Okay. CBS Broadcasting Incorporated et al. Defendants. Lorna Schofield, district judge. So if you don't know about this case, we're going to read about it in the background. I'm not going to explain it to you. The judge will. Elliot Rogers. Dang it. Elliot Rogers. Thank you. Or Elliot Roger, whatever his name is. Brings a whole new meaning to hello, neighbor. Mr. Rogers here. Plaintiff Anas Osama Ibrahim Abdin filed the third amended complaint on January 15th, 2019 against CBS Broadcasting and or CBS Core, CBS Interactive, Netflix Incorporated. The third amended complaint alleges that defendants violated the Copyright Act by copying plaintiff's concept for an unreleased science fiction video games, Tardigrades, in their Star Trek Discovery television series. Pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 12b6, defendants moved to dismiss the third amended complaint on the grounds that Star Trek Discovery is not substantially similar to plaintiff's video game as a matter of law. As discussed below, defendant's motion is granted. So Anas's lawsuit is dismissed. 12b6 is a dismissal with prejudice, and typically it's failure to state a claim. 12b6 is failure to state a claim or cause of action for which the court is able to grant relief or remedy. Okay, that's a 12b6. That's the Rule 12b6 of civil procedure. It's a 12b6 motion. It means that your complaint doesn't allege something that the court can fix. That's the long and short. And there's a long line of cases that support this. It's called the Iqbal Twombly line of cases. And first year civil procedure students have to learn this over and over and over. But one thing I want to bring up while we're talking about this, there is actually a GoFundMe for this. If you are interested in supporting this lawsuit, whether you support Anas Abdin, whether you just like tardigrades, whether you hate Star Trek Discovery, whether you want to stand for justice, there is actually a GoFundMe here. It was open just a couple days ago. 5 days ago, they've raised $18,370. This is a guy. Let me shill this GoFundMe a bit. This is a guy who's been working on this game independently, creating all of the art, all of the characters, all of the story for like 5 years. This is a labor of love for him that he has created from nothing. And then Star Trek Discovery, funded by CBS and Netflix, two monstrous titans of multinational, multi-billion dollars, has come in with infinite money to pay writers, right? Like I need to make this clear. This is a guy like anybody else with a story, with a vision that he wants to tell and share with the world, and has been sharing with the world for something like 5 years on forums, okay? He's been working on this thing. And trust me, Anas and I probably do not politically agree. We probably don't have similar lifestyles or anything like that. So I don't know much about him. But what I do know in the limited contact I've had with Anas, he is exceedingly polite, courteous, respectful, and seems to be a very, very nice person. I would love to sit down and talk with him sometime. But that said, I don't know, like, I didn't know about this game. I have not been following it. It's not my type of video game or anything like that. But this is a guy who's been working his butt off for years to create something new and bring it to people. And then this mega corporation with all of the money on earth to pay any number of writers comes in, and they sure looks like they flat out take his idea. Flat out take it. Right? It looks like they just steal it. I can't, there's no other way to say it. They have all of the money on earth. They could pay infinite writing staffs, right? Because you don't have to pay writers anything. They're barely people. You can pay an infinite writing staff. You can put monkeys in front of typewriters. You can put lawyers in front of typewriters. You can put law Twitter in front of typewriters and come up with some story eventually. But instead, they steal this guy's thing. They just take it. That's messed up. Oh my gosh, you can't stand for that. So here's where it is. It's GoFundMe.com/F appropriately /justice for Annis. I'll put the link in the chat here. So there's the chat link. If you guys want to support this, if you guys want to show Annis some love on this and do that, that would be amazing. I would appreciate it. I'm going to donate. Should I donate now? I'm going to donate now. Okay. Go. Yes, I'm off camera. Okay, before I put my credit card in. I'm donating now. Hold on. I'm going to do it. There we go. Donate. Oh, I gotta dox my zip code to GoFundMe. As if they don't have it. I'm logged in on my stupid account. Yep. Campaign. Okay, here it is. There we go. I put $100 towards it just now. I believe in this guy. I really do. And I think that it's real garbage what they've done to him. I think that's awful. I don't like this. So there you go, guys. If you want to support Annis, and if you want to support this lawsuit, this is there. Let me put it in the. I'm gonna put. I'll clarify Vic's GoFundMe, and just above it, I'm gonna put in Annis Abdin GoFundMe. Right in the description here. So, in case you want an easy way to find it. I said. All right. So that's it. That's his GoFundMe page. And I just want to let you guys know, like, if I'm going to do something like this where we're really going to promote a GoFundMe because I believe in it, I'm going to contribute to it, right? Like, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm not going to just ask you guys to consider it if I'm not willing to. That's silly. Okay, so let's check this out real quick. Plaintiff Annis Osama Ibrahim Abdin filed the Third Amendment. Oh, wait, I read that. I read that. Background: the facts below are drawn from the Third Amendment complaint and its exhibits, which include all available images and video and audio footage of the video game and other evidence integral to the complaint, which includes all 15 episodes of the television series' first season. The facts are construed in the light most favorable to plaintiff as the non-moving party. See Doe versus Columbia University. So remember, these facts are construed in the light most favorable to Annis. Annis is the plaintiff. Okay. Plaintiff's concept for the video game Tardigrades. Between May 2014 and September 2017, plaintiff published draft designs, videos, and descriptions of the video game on his personal website, YouTube, and other popular websites. Plaintiff has compiled these materials in a video file with the file name Exhibit K through H, the video compilation, comprising approximately 30 minutes of 23 separate YouTube videos, followed by static blog posts from 2 websites. None of the contents of the video compilation is alleged to be registered for copyright. On June 28, 2018, plaintiff registered for copyright a distillation of the game concept, which was first published July 12, 2017, the distillation. Plaintiff claims, and it is assumed for the purposes of this motion, that the video compilation distillation are protected work that defendants allegedly infringed. The video game itself has not yet been released. Nevertheless, for ease of reference, plaintiff's allegedly protected work hereafter is collectively referred to as the video game. Video game follows Carter, a blonde male botanist who lives on a space station, Marzi 3, which orbits the planet Jupiter. Other characters are Aziz, a technician with a dark complexion who is gay, Kat, a blonde engineer, Yolanda, a black woman who is a space station's communications engineer, and Natasha, a red-haired woman whom plaintiff describes as a bad girl. Ooh, hey. I'll talk to Yolanda, but I'm talking to Natasha. The game is set around the year 20,000 BC, when civilization is about to discover galactic travel. The deserts of South Egypt and Ethiopia are green and full of advanced technology. Carter communicates with others and explores the space station, the outer space, and planet terrains to solve puzzles. The player decides Carter's mood as he completes tasks, which may alter the video game's storyline. The storyline, quote, has a plot twist and deals with slavery, secrecy, espionage, and other issues. One video suggests that the game involves an alien race that knows the origins of the universe. And as your president, I will keep this alien race out. Sorry, I couldn't stop. Another suggests that Carter has superpowers. In early 2015, plaintiff changed the video game's title from Epoch to Tardigrades and introduced Tardigrades to the game series, as reflected in about the last 10 minutes of the video compilation. These 10 minutes contain 2 video snippets depicting plaintiff's tardigrade. The first is the closing sequence to each of these videos, showing a small tardigrade fading into the background, lasting approximately 1 second. The second is a 13-second sequence in a single video that shows a massive deep blue tardigrade standing upright that grabs Carter from behind with his 8 limbs and envelops Carter within itself. It's full-on Tardivore before crawling off into space. The same sequence appears on 2 pages of the distillation. In the blog post announcing the name change, plaintiff describes tardigrades as indestructible. He states that despite their little size, tardigrades can survive temperatures from just above absolute zero up to above the boiling point of water, can survive extreme conditions of radiation and the vacuum of space, and can go without food or water for more than 10 years. The blog post asks, who else can travel in space like tardigrades? Now notice something that just happened there. Fact about tardigrade, fact about tardigrade, fact about tardigrade, fact about tardigrade. Rhetorical question talking about the science fiction implications of a tardigrade traveling through the faster than the speed of light through a mycelial network or whatever it is, okay? That's a little bit of a difference. Okay, sorry. Although unexplained, it can be surmised that Carter, enveloped within the tardigrade, is also protected from the conditions of space. I guess it can be surmised that, despite the allegation in the third amended complaint, the video game does not suggest that plaintiff's tardigrade is capable of instantaneous space travel. Ooh. Wait a minute. What? Okay. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, a tardigrade is any of a phylum of microscopic invertebrates with 4 pairs of stout legs that live usually in water or damp moss, also called water bear. There you go. A June 2015 blog post announced a change to the video game's logo, describing it as, quote, a combination of the water bear, a colloquial name for the tardigrade, posing as an ancient Egyptian scarab holding a crook and a flail accessorized with 2 wings. Defendant's television series Star Trek Discovery. Television series first aired on September 24th, 2017 and follows the same themes as earlier Star Trek television shows and movies. There have been many Star Trek television... Let's read the footnote. There have been many Star Trek television series and movies since the first Star Trek television series. By the way, Star Trek fans rise up in the chat and tell me if Discovery follows the same themes as the other Star Trek things. Like... Because I am not a Star Trek. I enjoy some of the movies and the shows just fine, but I am not a Star Trek. But you tell me if the themes of this have anything to do with a previous Star Trek. Because I've heard the opposite. And movies since the first Star Trek television series aired from 1966 to 68. See Paramount Pictures Corp. Versus Carroll Publishing Group. Providing background on Star Trek. So you got a 1998 legal case that they cite to get your background on Star Trek. Star Trek is set in a distant future where space travel is common and humans and aliens regularly communicate. United Federation of Planets, the Federation, bunch of commies, includes among other things humans from the planet Earth and aliens known for their preference for rationality over emotions from the planet Vulcan. The Federation has a history of conflict with the Klingons, an alien species known for its aggression. Federation includes a fleet of spacecraft that travel the galaxy, Starfleet. There you go. That's it. That's all that Star Trek is. That's all that all the Star Treks ever were. Oh boy. Oh boy. The protagonist is Michael Burnham, a Vulcan-raised human black woman. Wait, what? Wait, I thought the name was Michael. What? Black woman who fights for the United Federation of Planets, the Federation, on a spaceship in a war against the alien Klingons. Other characters are Captain Philippia Georgiou, an Asian woman. Why is her freaking name French? What is happening? An Asian woman who shares a close bond with Burnham. Ooh. Captain Gabriel Lorca, a white man with a hawkish disposition. Sylvia Tilly, an anxious young woman with red hair. Paul Stamets, a blonde white man who is an astromycologist, someone who studies space-based fungi and is gay. And Hugh Culber, a doctor with a dark complexion who is Stamets' partner. Now, I mean, I don't want to start drawing my assumptions, but let's just contrast. Paul Stamets is a blonde white man who is an astromycologist and is gay, and a doctor with a dark complexion who is his partner with this one. A blonde male botanist who lives on a space station which orbits the planet Jupiter. Other characters are Aziz, a technician with a dark complexion who is gay. All right. There you go. So... But those are completely coincidental. Storyline early in the first season involves an advanced technology called the Displacement Activated Spore Hub Dash Drive. So is Congress writing this? The Dash Drive connects to a mycelial network that spans the galaxy and allows the spacecraft to travel instantaneously to any location. The Dash Drive, however, does not work until Burnham, Stamets, and Tilly find an alien tardigrade and learn that its unique genetic makeup allows it to navigate through the mycelial network because of its symbiotic relationship with mycelium spores. The alien tardigrade is named Ripper and is a polar bear-sized cousin of the microscopic Earth tardigrade. Oh, weird! Weird, so it's like just big enough to fully envelop a man in its arms. Oh my god. Although the alien tardigrade is often lit in electric blue light, it is not blue. It is greenish-brownish with 4 pairs of clawed limbs and body armor segments with tentacles. The alien tardigrade is at first violent, but Burnham discovers that it is normally docile. Burnham also learns that the alien tardigrade feels pain when Captain Lorca uses it to travel instantaneously through space. Rather than harm the creature, Stamets chooses to inject it himself with the alien tardigrade's DNA so that he, instead of the entrapped tardigrade, can connect to the dash drive. Michael and Tilly ultimately release the alien tardigrade into space, and the creature flies away through the subspace mycelial spore network. Episode 4 and 5 are the only episodes of the 15-episode series in which Ripper, the only tardigrade-like creature in the series, makes more than a fleeting appearance. The show interweaves storylines about the Klingon War and intergalactic travel with storylines about the personal struggles of its lead characters. Burnham carries guilt over her prior acts of mutiny and dual identity as a human born on Vulcan. Tilly feels anxiety as a young member of the space crew. Stamets struggles to balance his professional ambitions with the personal relationship with Culber. Television series also follows the story of a Klingon named Voq, whom other Klingons disrespect because of the color of his skin. So you're saying it deals with, let's see, or was it? Deals with slavery, secrecy, espionage, and other issues. I mean, standard. On a motion to dismiss, a court accepts as true all well-pleaded factual allegations and draws all reasonable inferences in favor of the non-moving party, except that the tardigrade lets you travel instantly, apparently. To withstand dismissal, a pleading must contain sufficient factual matter accepted as true to state a claim of relief that is plausible on its face. Iqbal, remember? And Twombly. Iqbal and Twombly. Where the disputed works are attached to or incorporated by reference in the complaint, a district court can consider the similarity between those works in connection with a motion to dismiss because the court has before it all that is necessary in order to make such an evaluation. In a copyright infringement action, the works themselves supersede and control contrary descriptions of them, including any contrary allegations, conclusions, or descriptions of the work contained in the pleadings. In order to establish a claim of copyright infringement, a plaintiff with a valid copyright must demonstrate 1. The defendant has actually copied the plaintiff's work. 2. The copying is illegal because a substantial similarity exists between the defendant's work and the protectable elements of the plaintiff's. Note, this is a pretrial dismissal motion. They don't actually have to prove these things yet. They just have to make a showing. Any showing. Through allegation. If taken as true, in the light most favorable to the plaintiff, that would lead to a possibility of copyright infringement. You don't have to prove it yet, right? It's pre-trial. On a motion to dismiss, a district court may assume that actual copying by defendants occurred and proceed to the question of substantial similarity. Discussion. Defendant's motion to dismiss is granted because Star Trek Discovery and plaintiff's video game are not substantially similar as a matter of law in concept, character, settings, and overall feel. In particular, the tardigrade in Star Trek Discovery is not substantially similar to plaintiff's tardigrade in concept, attributes, and overall feel. Here we go. Substantially similar applicable law. The Copyright Act gives owners of copyright exclusive rights to protect original works of authorship. Not all elements of a work are entitled to copyright protection. Copyright does not protect an idea, only the expression of an idea. Okay, similarly, scenes affaires or elements of a work that are indispensable or at least standard in the treatment of a given topic, like cowboys, bank robbers, and shootouts in stories of the American West, get no protection. Also, as the Third Amendment complaint concedes, facts, including scientific facts, are not protected because they, quote, do not owe their origin to an act of authorship. Noting that the protected elements of the plaintiff's work are arrangements of the diagrams, the shapes, and the colors, not the actual scientific information being conveyed. The standard test for substantial similarity between two items is whether an ordinary observer, unless he set out to detect the disparities, would be disposed to overlook them and regard the aesthetic appeal as the same. A more discerning test applies when a plaintiff's work contains both protectable and unprotectable elements. Okay. Courts are not to consider the protectable elements of the two works in isolation. Such a scattershot approach cannot support a finding of substantial similarity because it fails to address the underlying issue, whether a lay observer would consider the works as a whole substantially similar to one another. Now remember this. Two people looking at these two works, okay? two people looking at these two works, according to this judge, in no way can find substantial similarity between them. That's what the judge is saying here. Okay? I hope that is clear. That if you are a person looking at these two things, you say, I don't think they're related at all. That's it. That's what the judge claims. All right. In applying either test, the task is to compare holistically the work's total concept and overall feel as instructed by our good eyes and common sense. To aid the court in its determination of substantial similarity, the court must examine similarities in total concept and feel, theme, characters, plot, sequence, pace, and setting. Concept and plot. Television series has a clear and fully constructed concept that develops across 15 episodes and builds over 5 generations of Star Trek content. Federation's intergalactic missions and Klingon antagonism to the Federation has been a part of Star Trek since the first season of the original series. The television series also has characters with personal story arcs and who build relationships with others. Tilly, for example, builds confidence in a friendship with Stamets as the first season progresses. Oh, hold on. It's not copywritten because, look, these characters make friends with other characters. So, I mean, that's part of Star Trek. In contrast, the video game's concept is unclear, as only discrete and unconnected videos and images of the game are available. The video compilation describes the game as being in an early stage of production. Both the video game and television series employ concepts that are associated in popular culture with the tardigrade and not original to plaintiff's work. Video game is set in space, at a time where space travel is common and supernatural forces are present. The game's purpose is to guide Carter and others so that they might be able to witness their civilization shifting into a higher type. Television series is also set in space, at a time when space travel is common. Through the first season, the USS Discovery's goal is to protect the Federation, defeat Klingon opposition in the war. As is common in Star Trek productions, many of the main characters in the television series also seek to explore and better understand the universe. Supernatural forces, war games, and space exploration are all scenes affaire in science fiction dramatizations about space and not protectable. Both the video game and the television series include a large tardigrade that can fly through space and interacts with the characters. These concepts are not original to the video game. Since at least 2007, tardigrades have been identified as the first known animal to survive unprotected in outer space. So there you go. A 2010 children's fantasy novel titled The Search for the World Law includes a gargantuan tardigrade that interacts with the characters and can fly. A YouTube video from May 7th, 2015, Captain Tardigrade, depicts a humanoid tardigrade that flies in a spaceship and calls tardigrades virtually indestructible. Episodes from March and April 2014 of the non-fiction television series Cosmos, A Space-Time Odyssey, feature discussions of tardigrades' unique ability to survive in space. These conceptual similarities of tardigrades flying in space are thus non-copyrightable elements of the video game and cannot constitute the basis for a copyright infringement. Because, of course, tardigrades surviving in the vacuum of space means that they can fly around and interact with people. This is obvious, and how you can't see this is beyond me. I'm sick of you people. I'm sick of you people. A fundamental rule of copyright law is that it protects only original works of authorship, those aspects of the work that originate with the author himself. The tardigrade in both the video compilation and the television series assists humans with space flight, but in completely different ways. The video compilation's 13-second clip of tardigrade shows the tardigrade enveloping Carter in something like a bear hug before floating off into space. In the television series, Stamets gains the tardigrade's power to travel through the mycelial network by injecting himself with the tardigrade's DNA. The injection gives Stamets supernatural powers, but also causes him serious physical harm. These clips are small pieces of each work and do not alone represent each work's concept and plot. But more importantly, there is no similarity between how the video game tardigrade envelops Carter and how Stamets injects himself with the tardigrade DNA. The plots of both works are similar solely to the extent that the characters go on adventures in space, and some of the adventures involve alien tardigrades. This common storyline of adventuring through space and discover aliens is a scenes affaire common to works that involve space travel, just as cowboys, bank robbers, and shootouts in stories of the American West get no protection. Alien contact in fictional stories about space adventures gets no protection. Moreover, the television series plot also involves subjects that are not part of the video game. The war between the Federation and the Klingons, and the personal struggles of individual characters that involve redemption, growth, and fitting in as an outsider. Characters. In determining whether characters are similar, a court looks at the totality of the character's attributes and traits, as well as the extent to which the defendant's characters capture the total concept and feel of figures in the plaintiff's work. Tardigrade in the video game and the television series share many of the same characteristics as the real-life microscopic tardigrade, except being different color, giant in size, and the ability to literally travel through space. But, you know. All three have 8 short legs that run in pairs along a rounded body. All three have an O-shaped mouth in the center of the face, perfect O face. And all three are capable of surviving in space without protection. These are non-protectable facts about the tardigrade and cannot provide the basis for copyright infringement. See? Look at it. Perfect. What could you possibly think? This one, being 8-bit, looks exactly like the actual one. And this one isn't really blue, guys. It's not blue, though. See? It's not blue. It's green and brown. Beyond the unprotectable physical aspects of actual tardigrades, the differences between plaintiff and defendant's tardigrades defeat any finding of substantial similarity. Video game tardigrade is large and deep blue. The logo directly links the tardigrade to a scarab beetle, a figure in ancient Egyptian culture associated with immortality, transformation, protection. Tardigrade's power to envelop Carter and thereby transform and protect him in space suggests that it is a powerful creature that characters in the video game venerate. Television series Tardigrade is also a large space traveler, but the similarities in there. Although this tardigrade is lit with a blue light, it is brownish greenish. Why didn't they put a brownish greenish picture in then? More importantly, the tardigrade in the television series does not capture the total concept and feel of the video game's tardigrade. This tardigrade is a creature kept on the USS Discovery against its will that the human characters name and initially seek to exploit for personal gain, and then, upon learning that it feels pain, protect and liberate, which would otherwise be called venerating. I just want to point that out. Protecting and liberating, once you find that it's a sentient object that can also make you travel through space and you want to prevent it from being caused pain, that would be similar to the veneration of the... in my opinion, it has no godlike attributes and is not venerated, but instead is treated almost like a pet until they don't determine it's a pet, to be protected and not harmed, which is how you treat pets, right? You let them go. That's what a pet is. What you have when you have a pet is you take the pet's DNA that gets you what you wanted out of the pet, and then you let it fly off like a pet and disappear into the mycelial network where it warps through space-time and you'll never find it again. That's how you deal with pets. Okay. To be protected and not harmed, but not deified. Where the video game tardigrade is best associated with the spiritual symbolism of the scarab beetle. That's how it's best associated. The television series tardigrade is best associated with a beloved but poorly behaved pet dog. The bar for substantial similarity in a character is set quite high, and the similarity between the two tardigrades falls short of this standard. To me, it doesn't, and I think that warrants a jury, right? Like that's the problem with these dismissal motions. I think a jury might just disagree with this judge, just might. Especially if there's even one Star Trek fan on there. I think the jury really might disagree there. The alleged similarities between other characters in the two works also fails to support a claim, as they are mostly generalized, non-protectable descriptions. Yolanda and Burnham are both black women. Natasha and Tilly both have red hair. Aziz and Culber are both gay and have black hair and facial hair. Stamets and Carter are blonde men who work in the field of biology. I mean, yes! Yes, but 5 for 5. The 5 characters of each are okay. Courts have denied claims of substantial similarity when comparing characters who are far more similar than these. Granting summary judgment to a defendant where main characters were both military-trained hairstylists who fight crime and wield hair dryers. Why can't they wield hair dryers as weapons? Affirming dismissal where both sets of books chronicle the adventures of a young male protagonist named after the Greek hero Perseus set in modern times. That's way different. That's not more similar because they both share the name of an ancient Greek hero. Granting summary judgment where the main characters in both works were named Nicholas Gaunt and were born half vampire. Settings of the video game and television series are similar, but the similarity is not actionable. Video game is set in a spacecraft orbiting a planet that has capacity to house a large crew. The main set for the television series is also a spaceship, the USS Discovery, that has the capacity to house a large crew. Characters in both works leave these main settings to explore outer space and planets. However, these similarities are seen as fair for science fiction set in outer space. I agree with that, at least. That part I agree with. A fundamental rule of copyright law is it protects only original works of authorship, those aspects that originate with the author himself. Overall feel. The difference between the two works is also notable at the macro level. The television series is not substantially similar to the video game after holistically comparing the works. Overall feel as instructed by good eyes and common sense. Television series builds on over 5 decades of Star Trek movies and television shows. Many people would argue that it tears them down. To represent Starfleet adventures in a new era. Isn't it actually an old era? Isn't this supposed to predate the Enterprise? Like, isn't the Discovery prior to the Enterprise? Am I wrong on that? Maybe I'm wrong. But I thought the Discovery was a prequel. Characters use similar terminology and technology and wear similar badges. Overarching themes from prior renditions, such as multiculturalism, the importance of loyalty, and the struggle to balance reason and emotion are prevalent here. And the television series consistently alludes to characters and events from prior Star Trek shows. For example, there is a reoccurring reference to in the show to the USS Defiant, a spaceship from the Star Trek television show Deep Space Nine. And one episode references the popular Vulcan character Spock. The conflict at the very center of the television series, the war between the Federation and Klingons. Wait, how are they referencing the Defiant? I thought the Defiant was way late in Next Generation era. Conflict at the very center of the television series, war between the Federation and Klingons, makes little sense without background knowledge about the Star Trek universe. Yeah, it's a different USS Defiant, right? The video game lacks this overall feel. The disparate videos and images do not easily evince a single coherent plotline. Nonetheless, there is no suggestion that this story follows a war between dueling world orders, or that the characters engage with themes prevalent in Star Trek. It is at least clear that the video game follows Carter, who solves mysteries to uncover information about the universe and fellow characters. And the story also seems to deal with slavery, secrecy, and espionage. This is not enough to conclude that the overall feel of the video games is substantially similar to that of the television series. What about the episodes that involve the tardigrade, though? I think the judge is broadening this beyond its scope, but maybe I'm wrong. Other purported similarities. The complaint includes a list of 11 purported similarities between the two works. Most of these are discussed above. The remaining similarities are disparate and not essential to the overall feel or understanding of the television series. Video game features Egyptian cultural influences and supernaturalism. Episode 1 of the television series includes Egyptian iconography on one of the spaceships, but nothing further. In the video game, Carter is sometimes immersed in a glowing blue light and at least once walks through an astral plane environment. Stamets is also sometimes immersed in a glowing blue light, and Burnham once walks through an astral plane. I mean, of course. Haven't you heard of astral planes in all of the other Star Treks? I mean, weird. I heard about that all the time in First Contact or whatever. In both works, the characters' uniforms delineate status and rank, and their spacesuits have a large headpiece. Actually, they also look like identical. But, you know. These similarities do not change the calculus. They do not provide a sufficient basis to find substantial similarity between the works' total concept and feel. For the foregoing reasons, defendant's motion to dismiss is granted. Clerk of court is respectfully directed to close out all outstanding motions and terminate the case. Lorna Schofield, U.S. District Court Judge. So there you go, guys. That is the opinion. Now, I disagree with this opinion. I think this is a jury question. I really do. I really do. Also, given the relative power of the parties and the judge's penchant for bringing up parts of the work that are irrelevant, like, oh, it's building on 5 previous series. That doesn't matter. Then why didn't it build on them? Why did it clearly use elements of this guy's work? Why? Tardigrades aren't a theme in any other Star Trek. There is no mycelial network prior to it coming out here. There's nothing about this. There's nothing about this. This is entirely new in the Star Trek universe, to my knowledge. Because I remember First Contact. I remember the invention of the warp drive and all of that. And I'm not even a big fan. I'm not even a big fan. But like, the invention of the warp drive has its own lore. They've always used the warp drive and this sudden ability to travel instantaneously with some weird DNA of a giant tardigrade. That's all new. All very new. And I don't... I do not see this. But that said... Oh, dang it. Sorry. Let me bring that back up. That said, appeals on these types of cases are very, very difficult. Because the judge has laid out reasoning, and the appellate court judge is not going to inherently, or the appellate court judge panel of 3 judges is not going to automatically understand the similarities, or more specifically, where the judge gets their comparisons of the 2 things wrong. And they're likely going to defer to the judge's interpretation of the facts. They're going to defer to that. So this is going to be a very tough appeal. I hope Annis has a very good appellate lawyer. I don't know. I think it's a real shame. I think CBS should have paid him for the work. And here's the other thing that bothers me. If he released this game and the conditions were changed, I bet they would have sued him. Oh boy. Oh, so Discovery is part of the J.J. Abrams universe. Oh, then they should mark that out. They should say that specifically. Actually, no. It's not building on the other series, because the other series is a different Star Trek universe than this. They should do that. I don't know if it'll help in the long run. I think this is what I would call a long shot appeal case, but I think it needs to be done, right? I think it needs to be done. We gotta fight. I've been talking a lot over the past year about independent creators and our ability to create things independently and to market it independently. But one thing we don't have massive legal departments to threaten everybody who takes our ideas. We don't have that. We don't have $1 billion multinational network. We don't have Netflix, who's going to take in like $600 million a month to fund a lawsuit. We don't have that. We've got to protect it, and we've got to fight viciously for it. Because if you want the tools of content creation are in the hands of people in a way they've never been there before. But the dinosaurs of creation, with overinflated budgets, with infinite amounts of money to pay, frankly underqualified people to create something, if they're able to just take it from an independent person without at least a fight, and if we keep conceding that, then we're lost. We're lost. And they're going to fight us on it every step of the way, because the independent creator is the biggest threat. Think about it. Think about the fact that like Outward, right? The game on Steam, Outward, open world RPG, is a threat to Skyrim, a AAA studio with like a $250 million development budget. Right? Outward is like a couple couple people, small team that created this thing. And it threatens the AAA studio in concept, in design, and implementation. Now, is it Skyrim? No. There are obvious differences. I'm not suggesting that, or even that they're trying to compete with Skyrim. But the fact that a small team that is not developed by, 8 figures, 9 figures of money can create something that people want, and it can compete with those 9-figure creations in sales and enjoyability and quality, is a direct threat to that overfunded morass that is AAA development. And that applies to TV, that applies to comic books, it applies to movies, it applies to video games. It applies to anime. It applies to manga. It applies to all of the things, RPGs. You know, you can go on like a website right now and pay them $35 and they'll make your game and ship it to you. Like whenever have we had the tools of creation in our hands like this? Never. And we've got to fight for it. So that's my soapbox pontification. I'm sorry. It's something I'm becoming more and more passionate about as things go on, because like I see the opportunity and I really, really don't want the dinosaurs to keep it from us. Because there's so many people out there who have been prevented from entering careers where they could have made you something great, but they're prevented by logistics. They just don't live in LA. They just don't live in New York City. They just don't live in Toronto or Ontario or whatever stupid place is the production house du jour of whatever you like. They just don't live in Dallas, so they can't voice an anime. We're getting past that. We have to let ourselves get past it. Okay. Refresh the GoFundMe. Annis? We've got $18,640. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for contributing to that. Are we talking about that one, or are we talking about VIX? Okay. We might be... Sometimes the GoFundMe doesn't update right away. Someone made a... Okay. VIX GoFundMe is here. It's at $256,255. Someone asked me if the winners of the prints have been announced yet. I don't know if I'm going to announce them. I have to get permission from each winner to do so. And I looked at the spreadsheet that GoFundMe gave me, and they gave me the wrong date range. So I know that because some of the very specific donations for that are missing from it. So I've got to get the corrected spreadsheet for the timeline. I don't know what happened there or how they were missed, but I'm working on that. So there you go. Here is that and Tardigrades. All right. So unless this one, no. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So we've got that. I've got one more very short news story to talk about. Let me get it pulled up. This is just kind of funny. Okay. Okay, who do we pick? Let's go ahead with... CNN politics. That seems like a fair and balanced look at the situation. Oh my. This is such an awful story. Did I get an update? There was no update on Meyer versus Wade today. I'm watching. I thought it would come through today. I thought today was 30 days, but it is It is the judgment isn't, or the ruling isn't there yet, or the recommendation from the magistrate isn't there yet. I'm watching it every day though, so as soon as it's out, I will get it to you. Lane K 1978 says, if one or more of the appellate judges are old school Star Trek fans, do you think they are going to be more likely to disagree with district judges' findings? Yes, I think so. Especially if they view Discovery in the light that most people I've talked to view Discovery as absolute garbage. All right. This is a comedy thing. Not comedy at the death of the kid, this guy. That's not funny. What's funny is how it's been handled. And of course, just because, God, there are miscalculations that can happen, and I think one happened. I don't know who's responsible. They're all gonna blame Trump, but let's read through it. So, Trump meeting was a stunt, says bereaved parents spokesman. All right, the grieving parents of a British teenager say they are teenager. See, so they're framing him as a child, right? The teenager, technically true, he's 19 years old, but I hate doing this, but they pick teenager other than a British man for a very specific reason. Okay? Say they're extremely angry and feel they have been taken advantage of after a highly choreographed White House encounter with U.S. President Donald Trump, where he presented them with an unexpected offer to meet the woman involved in the crash that killed their son. The family says that Trump surprised them with the bombshell news that Anne Sikolis, the wife of a U.S. diplomat stationed in the U.K., was in an adjoining room. Photographer, how did she feel? Oh, I hope they don't call me in. Oh my God, this is gonna be a disaster. Oh, please. How much whiskey was Anne drinking? Waiting for the announcement of whether or not she was gonna have to go in. Oh my goodness. Go away. I hate ads. Okay. Photographers were waiting in the wings, said a family spokesman who described the encounter as an ambush. Now, to be fair, photographers are waiting in the wings of every single encounter with the U.S. president. So that... UK police said Sikolis claimed diplomatic immunity in the aftermath of the crash that killed Harry Dunn, 19, and left the country 3 weeks later. Through her attorney, she apologized for a tragic mistake. Police say their investigation is not yet complete. Dunn's parents are in the U.S. this week to make the case that Sikolis should be returned to Britain to face justice, and met with Trump at the White House on Tuesday. Now, interestingly, the police say their investigation is not yet complete. I'm not sure how she can face justice if the investigation isn't even done and charges aren't even levied yet. And how this goes, right? Sometimes someone dies and it's just an accident and it's awful. I'm not saying that's this case. I'm not. But sometimes that is what happens. Someone dies and it's just an accident. Now, this chick was apparently driving on the wrong side of the road. And then that to me, that's almost immediate liability. It'd be really hard to argue against that. But I'm just saying. President Trump came off as a very warm, engaging guy. He makes you feel really special. Rad Seeger, the family spokesperson, told CNN. But once the pleasantries were over and we sat down, he said, "Let's cut to the chase. You want to meet Miss Sikolis? I can make it happen." Wait, but was he offering them the opportunity to waterboard her? That's the real question. She was next door. It was a shock, he added. Charlotte Charles Dunn's mother told British TV station Sky News that the family declined to offer to see Sikolis at the White House because the family wants a meeting on their terms on UK soil. Trump said Wednesday that he met with the family at the request of British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. See, so Trump is getting flack for this. Now, who knows whether or not he said have the chick in the next room or whatever. He described the meeting as beautiful in a certain way. He expressed condolences on behalf of our country during the meeting. I offered to bring the person in question in and they weren't ready, or I offered to bring the person in question in and they weren't ready for it, Trump said during an Oval Office meeting Wednesday. Seeger responded to Trump's comments with a fiery statement that described the meeting as a stunt to make President Trump look good, suggesting that the surprise offer to meet Dunn was a false choice. It is not up to them. Right from the outset, the family has said that Ann Sikolis is to come back to the UK to face the music. There's never been any change in their position, the statement read. We're extremely angry. This family feels they've been taken advantage of, and they have become a pawn in a wider political game. He died outside a base controlled by the U.S. Air Force in central England after his motorbike was struck by a car driven on the wrong side of the road by Sikolis. She originally cooperated in the case, British police said, but later left the country protected by immunity, despite assuring them she would remain in the UK. Well, that was your bad. Police say their investigation is still underway. Blah, blah, blah. Earlier on Tuesday, her attorney, Amy Jeffress, released a statement expressing remorse for the tragedy. Anne was driving on the wrong side of the road and is terribly, terribly sorry for that tragic mistake. Neither she nor Harry Dunn's family will ever be the same because of it. She wants to meet with the family to apologize and take responsibility. Blah, blah, blah. This is a bunch of boring. Trump did not promise to return Sikolis to the UK. No, diplomatic immunity. Diplomatic immunity is a controversial subject. Because it does say that foreign diplomats are immune from crimes in the country when they're present. And there are volumes of sad stories involving diplomatic immunity. Okay? There just are. From murders to rapes to child sex trafficking to just about anything. Anything you can imagine. Diplomatic immunity has been there to help out. So, like it or not, it is part of the agreement that we have with other nations. And if the tables were turned, if a British person had run over a US family person, absolutely would exercise their diplomatic immunity. If a British diplomat's wife had gotten drunk and shot someone in a bar, they would do the same thing. Okay? Like, this is, the press is making this out as straining relations and stuff. I don't think the relations between the heads of state or the nations themselves are actually strained by one person killing someone else in a tragic accident that they may be criminally liable for, but that they'll never be prosecuted for. I really don't. I don't think so at all. That's going to be a nice media narrative and spin. But the reality is diplomatic immunity affects diplomats and their host countries all the time, all over the world, in the worst ways, in much worse than this. So, you know, I just thought it was very funny. Listen, I got her next door. You want to meet her? You want to meet her, don't you? Bring her out. Tell her she's terrible. Want me to fire her? I'll fire her on the spot for you. That would be great. Listen, Anne, you're fired. Actually, you'd be firing her husband, I guess. Oh my goodness, what a tragedy. Like, in all honesty, family loses a family member. It is really a terrible event. And of course, Trump, their elections are coming. It doesn't matter how he does anything, they're going to make him look bad. If she wasn't there and he invited him to the White House, apologies insufficient. Trump refused to promise to send the lady back to the UK for execution. Trump didn't kill the lady on the spot. All of these things would be the talking points, right? It's just a matter of degree based on what Trump does versus what the narrative is. And again, I don't even really care for Trump that much. I'm not a big fan. I'm not hostile to him anymore. But I'm not I'm not an advocate or a supporter or anything like that. I never really have been. But I think the guy gets an unfair shake in the media constantly, and it's worse now going into the election, and it's going to get worse for the next 12 months. So have fun with that. Just imagine what's going to happen literally 12 months from now when we get the October surprise. Imagine the deep fakes that are coming. That Ukrainian hooker piss video, that's coming, right? That's coming. It'll be It'll be Trump with like a meme face. Getting urinated all over. It'll be great. I hope it's that. I hope it's the 2D meme face of Trump. All right. Oh boy. That said, I'm going to read the rest of the super chats and justice chats. I'm probably going to play some Risk of Rain 2 on Twitch tonight because I unlocked the loader class, and I want to mess around with the loader class. So if you want to come join me on there in a little bit. Project Veritas video of the CNN whistleblower. No, but I should reach out to them because of Mark Zaid. And for no other reason than I think it would be great if Project Veritas has anything funny on Mark Zaid. That's all I would care about. I don't care about the whistleblower. I don't care about any of that. But if Veritas has anything interesting on Mark Zaid and would want to come and talk about it, that would be great. That would be great. All right. So, yeah. So I think I will. I'll send an email to Project Veritas's social media group and see if they want to make any public statements about it. I would love to talk to those guys. They do really interesting work. Lots of people hate it. I mean, it's really easy to hate things that you know, make you look really bad. So, all right, guys. If you're gonna buzz out, thanks for watching tonight. Keep your eyes peeled for those short videos. I think I'm gonna have one tomorrow. We're probably gonna do a stream tomorrow. I think. I'm not sure what it's gonna be on yet, but I think we're gonna do a stream tomorrow. But I think there will also be a short video coming out. I want to do more of those. I want to do one specifically on the Cuba Gooding Jr. thing, just because I don't think there's a lot of coverage on it on YouTube. So I'm going to put it out. It'll be similar to what we talked about tonight, although not identical. And I'm going to see if I can get the actual documents or whatever and talk about the charges more. A little more analytical, a little less laughy, but laughy is going to happen. Because everybody's got to get Me Too'd, right? To get rid of Me Too, everybody that is liked has to get Me Too'd. We got to get Jimmy Fallon, Me Too that weirdo. Jimmy Kimmel, no one actually likes, so we don't got to Me Too him. We got to Me Too Ellen, that guy. We got to Me Too everybody. All the men in the world have to be Me Too'd, and eventually we'll get one to stick. If we don't do that, we're toast, right? Me Too Obama. Didn't Obama get Me Too'd? Didn't they just brush that off entirely? Anyway, we got to do it. Everybody's got to go. Because somewhere, we're going to get some lefty cuck that everybody likes. And be like, oh, God. What do we do? Joss Whedon's getting Me Too'd again. Like, eventually, we've got to get rid of everybody. To show the lunacy of this whole thing. So, but anyway, we got to get rid of all of them. So, if you're leaving now, peace. Otherwise, let's read through these chats. We got some interesting justice chats here. We've got Kay. It says, Trump is a legend and I hope he gets reelected. This year has been pretty shitty for me, but here's hoping this time next year I'll celebrate Trump's reelection. It won't be this time next year. It would be this time plus 2 months. Vic's appeal going through, and another Cubs World Series. Derek Cantrell says, a scale from Michelle Obama to Clint Eastwood. How veiny do you think Legal Eagle's cock is? He's a little cucky, so I say 2.3 inches. Or no, 2.3. The inches is just an unfortunate automatic quotation mark. I don't know. From Michelle Obama to Clint Eastwood? God, I have to think low on the veininess scale. Kay says, I read that one. Knight of Hopex says, their willingness to attack financial status is projection. And this is pretty much case in point that the left's narrative about class warfare is mostly motivated by envy and personal failings. They have disenfranchised themselves, not the system or society. Tend to agree with that. Flex Tape says, unfortunately, nonces are eager for plea deals so they can pretty much walk with the slap on the wrist. At most, he'll do a month or two and then be let out on good behavior. They also never get put in with general population, so no convicts shanking him. Oh, no, this guy, if you're talking about Ledoux is going 10-year minimum. Like, that's the mandatory minimum sentence, statutory minimum. The judge would have to have a massive justification for a downward departure that would probably be well outside of his ability to do so. There's no reason for him to go below the minimum on the statute. Asphyxiation says, Part 1, I'm a man of my word and I owe you $10 for new project 2 last month, but gonna make you work for it. Part 2, skibbity dib yo dub dub dub, yoda dub dub, skibbity dibbity yoda dub dub, yoda dub dub, bada 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 bop bop, booda bop, bop bop boda bop, boda bop, bebop bop boda bop, bop bob boda, bada 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 bop bop, de boda bop, bop. I probably massacred that, but good luck. Dread Clowns, prove it. Dread Clowns says, game-claiming engineer Yolanda identifies his attack helicopter gave me an aneurysm, but he didn't steal a Marvel character and make it a rainbow. He made his own thing, not affect anyone that didn't want to consume his content. If CBS stole, he deserves a win. Yeah, I agree. And I think on a personal note that Annis may himself be a rainbow. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I have heard. And so that may be part of his motivation for writing a character that he may be able to identify with. So I don't know. I don't hold that against anybody. Shadub Unholy says, Monica will never marry Ron. If she did, she would no longer be real. She would be a toy. She would no longer be real. She would be a toy. Haha. Hashtag reverse Pinocchio, sending early to catch in replay later. Hey, later, man. Ketchup says, hey, Nick, were the print winners announced already? I addressed that one. Phantom RA cast says, China #1. No. Kristen B says, lost my aunt at 59 years old today. Wonderful woman. Ah, I am sorry to hear that, Kristen. Peace to you and your family, and peace to her extended family as well. Gawker's Death Rattle says, my favorite memory of John Dunsworth, him trying to cheat while playing Scrabble in between shoots. Smart guy, but a bad cheat at Scrabble. Bad Vibe says, MBA and fake court documents on perfection. Wait, what? Nathan Kish says, how can Doucette make a living? He clearly doesn't have a job or he wouldn't have the free time to tweet this often. Listen, only 1,500 times a month on average. That's what he tweets. Austin Heartless says, I need financial planning for a race car I'm planning on building. Also, I gave up on relationships years ago. So there you go. Nick Sex says, Nick, did you ask Lady Rackets what she thought of Maddox's cuck shed? No, I just saw that today and I'm dying. That's the best bedroom you could possibly have, or best partition of a house or whatever it is. It looks like he lives in a living room. I'm pretty sure. So, no, I didn't ask her. Also, his comforter is a thing of legend. Jason Link says, in Michigan, if someone pleads guilty to a misdemeanor and it's sealed from the public, does that exclude everyone except courts and law enforcement? I don't know. I don't know in Michigan how it works. If it's sealed, typically it's sealed. And to open that seal, there has to be a petition from someone with a reasonable need to know. And they have to justify the unsealing. Typically a prosecutor, if they get to specifically unseal it. The statute I mentioned earlier about 5th degree possession in Minnesota, if they seal that 5th degree possession charge, the only way it can be unsealed is by a prosecuting attorney unsealing it for the sole purpose to prove that this plea agreement was entered into with this deal, because the deal is a one-time thing. So on your subsequent 5th degree felony possession charge, you don't get to claim the thing. The prosecutor can unseal your prior case, see if you took that specific deal and got the benefit of that statute, and then tell the judge, nope, he got that already. But that's it. Nothing else about the case can be unsealed. So Dusty Cruz says, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. So from my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you. Well, that's your opinion, man. I do not subscribe to that. Dark Knight says, bring back gender segregation. We need it. Brian Dewig says, just donated 100 to Justice for Annis because pretty sure real tardigrades don't teleport. Dark Knight says, to all men listening, think 100 times before you decide to be with a woman. MGTOW is the only way. Money is yours only. Sakaki Onsai says, a blonde, white, astro whatever with a dark-skinned doctor companion. Did CBS happen to hire Milo Yiannopoulos or something? I Gavolt. Oh no. Pro Hero All Might says, you want good Star Trek? Watch The Orville on Hulu. Curious Items Inside says, hey, Rackets, can you please give a brief breakdown of the soul organ? Yes, but not tonight. Maybe I'll just do like a short video on the soul organ doctrine. Because it is pretty interesting. And there's case law behind it. I don't know it. I can't just recall that case off the top of my head, but there's case law behind it, and it really does illustrate the power of the president in foreign affairs. Architect of Fate says, thoughts on the attacks on pro-Hong Kong politicians by Triad members that have never been proven to help support Mao's great leap forward. I haven't heard anything about that, but isn't that great? Isn't that great? Chinese government sending the Triad after pro-Hong Kong politicians. Well, you know, China is ruled by a despotic dictator. No matter how much capitalism they introduce in controlled doses, they still are horrific. Kildeo the Horse says, fun Wednesday chat, Nikki. It's always funny there. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, if you are a subscriber on Patreon or New Project 2, there's the Wednesday live chat that we had today, and those are always fun, enjoyable, very sort of free-form chats with lots of insult and mirth and joy and hatred and all of that good stuff. It's a good mix of a lot of people free to share a lot of different opinions. So, all right, guys, that's what we got for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really do appreciate it. If you want to come hang out on Twitch, come over there in just a couple minutes, and I will be, like I said, I'm gonna play Risk of Rain 2. I'm gonna play the loader class a little bit more, and yeah, I'll see y'all over there. Have a good night. Oh, outro! Dang it! I gotta fix the audio here. Hippity hoppity, what's my property? Done? Here comes the outro. There it is. Oh boy. Oh boy, it's so loud that it's picking up on my other mic here. Maybe gotta turn it down just a bit. So there you go. There is the outro music playing. If you enjoyed the show, please like and share it or whatever if you want. What I will ask you to do is, if you, more than the live streams, because live streams are live streams, more than live streams, as you see these short videos come out, if you like them and you feel like other people might like them, please do share them. That helps channel growth. It helps get more people to these streams, and it just helps me out. And it's a really wonderful way that you can help me. So if you like those things, share them. If you share the live streams, great. But most people don't want like a 3-hour video. So I don't tend to ask about that so much. But liking the streams really does help. And specifically those short videos, if you do happen to catch one, you enjoy the content of it, please pass it around. Just share it on Twitter or whatever. And most importantly, if you slap that like button or whatever. Oh, and soon we're going to be talking about porn on one of those too, so that'll be great. So anyways, thanks guys for joining me. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.
Showcasing us his career. get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear lawsplaining tonight. From the wide shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law